Well, I was going to recommend that they decided that they wanted me to do the,
We'll call the meeting to order. Please rise. Brother Nate, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Father, we thank you tonight for your grace and your mercy. And let's call you tonight. Father, give us safe travel. Keep your hand upon each and every one. Be with those who may be in harm's way tonight this evening. Lord, we just exalt you for your word. Forgive us where we fall short. Bless now in this meeting, God, that you grant wisdom. What we say and what we do, we bring glory and honor to your name. For we ask it in Jesus' name.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I ask everybody to please bear with us as this is only our second meeting, new commissioners and some council. So if we forget to dot an I or cross the T, somebody raise up your hand, and attorney sitting over here on the left and Sheila, and they'll get us corrected. Roll call, all three commissioners are here, the council, and who are we missing? Is all the council here? All the council's here, good. Approval, before we get started, everybody knows I'm a faith-based person, whether you like it or you don't. That's the way we're going to lead the meetings. We're one nation under God, not God under a nation, okay? And the only way for us to grow as a county is to work together as a county. Communication link, having meetings like this, I appreciate the council coming tonight and having a group meeting. I hope this is just one of many that we're going to have. Me and Paulie's talked about this, and Joe and Mr. Browning and some of the others, but in the public, my hat's off to the public for wanting to be involved. I appreciate all of you that's coming tonight, because you also are our eyes and ears. Us 10 people sitting up here don't have the answers for 22,000 people in this county. Not all the answers, we got some of them. And it's going to take your input, your commitment, your vision, your ideas, but also your solutions. But as long as we continue to work together, we're going to see this county improve in leaps and bounds. That's my concept, that's my belief, and it's going to happen. That's my part. So if anybody's got anything to say about that now, speak now or ever hold your peace. Good. Approval of minutes. We're going to approve minutes only for January 16, 2025. Gary has not had the chance to review the minutes for our first meeting on 1/9/2025. So I make a motion we approve the minutes for January 16th, 2025.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. And we're going to table the minutes to the next meeting for the January the 9th, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
Give you time to read it.
We'll do the approval of claims. Regular payroll, we had $318,004.71. Regular claims, $590,466.84. Out-of-cycle claims, the only out-of-cycle claims that we have are the utilities for $7,689.96. And there's a second one, correct Sheila, for $11,298.39. And our Visa cards for for 8206, 106202, 31337, 46767. Total amount for payroll and claims of $929,385.02. I make a motion to pay the claims.
I'll second that.
Second.
Now, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pay the claims. And please bear with us. I'm slow as a turtle. Good Lord, have mercy. Could have done this after the meeting, good. We get done getting these signed, Sheila's going to give us a tongue lashing.
Okay. While they're signing them, you have in front of you also a current, up-to-date. I'm gonna start printing the financial reports. I'll send what you have for the month, but I'm also gonna give it as of today because this totals include everything that you're signing tonight and stuff, so you'll have up-to-date balances. So you have a new one of these laying in front of you.
Thank you.
It does include, again, all of the payroll and the claims that you have. The tongue lashing, and again,
Just lashes, go on.
we're having issues with claims being turned in a timely manner, unfortunately. And there's a couple different departments, but we had to sit, when I say we, I include Polly and Anton. We literally were working with DLGF on a Sunday afternoon to try and get our 1782s done and balance out.
Microphones aren't on.
My balance was, I had to beg DLGF to give us the highway department's budgets this year. They were saying based on what claims had been in, their cash balances and those things, that they just didn't see it. One of the entries was theirs that they had done wrong. They corrected that. We had to give them updated balances. Unfortunately, I just had claims turned in, over $200,000 worth of claims that have been held since July, August, September, and October, and November. I'm gonna have to report to DLGF. I don't know if they will do a budget reduction. I don't know if they'll say we just have to watch it. Words to the council is we have to be extremely careful. We were told that even before this. Got to have claims turned in. I know everybody gets busy, I know it's tough, but there's no excuse to be holding claims for 5, 6, 7 months and expecting us to work with accurate balances to give budgets. So please, I ask in the January meeting, everybody, please work with us, get them turned in. If you're not sure, we're still trying to get a schedule worked out based on the commissioners' minutes or meeting dates. So we'll send out reminders until we get them. Beth called everybody this last Wednesday and sent emails out. So again, just please make sure we are getting stuff turned in on time so that we can have accurate budgets and not have to be trying to figure out how to do encumbrances and additional appropriations to pay for claims.
Yeah, and claims are important to be done properly because you got contractors or service people that need to be paid.
That's right.
And if we're holding claims for 3 or 4 months, whatever the case may be, and people's not getting paid, then that's gonna come back to bite us in the butt. So let's do that. We stated that at the first meeting, out-of-cycle claims, you know, this time all we had was utility and Visa, and that's what it needs to be. Claims are done twice a month. Contractors that work for this county need to understand that, and the department heads need to make sure the contractors know. Claims are done twice a month. Everybody's gonna play by the same rules. We're not doing out-of-cycle claims. Unless it's an emergency situation or these utilities or visa bills, we're not paying out of cycle claims. There's no reason for it when the auditor's office does claims twice a month. So please get your claims turned in time, get your contractors paid, so everybody's happy. If we didn't get our payroll every 2 weeks, how long would we go before you're upset because you didn't get paid? About 2 weeks and 1 day. Fair enough? All right, it's all good. Financial report, you got any more to add to that? Joint session here with the council tonight, and once again, I want to thank the council for coming tonight, and I hope we have a lot of these meetings together. And the reason I want to have meetings like this is good communication. And the council only meets once a month, commissioners meets twice a month. And sometimes there's a void between when the commissioners meet and the council gets to meet again. And when you have joint meetings, not a work session, now, I'm sure I've been fired up a bunch of emails about everything's illegal, everything the county's doing is illegal. Apparently we do nothing right. So I'm okay, as long as we're doing everything wrong, all right, I guess we're good. But being able to work together, we can make decisions in meetings together. We can make decisions if we need to. It's a work session, we cannot. So it's good to have these type of meetings in case something comes up, we need to get on, moving on with it. We can get it done in these joint meetings. So once again, thank the council for everybody coming tonight. Human Resources Administrator position. We talked about this at the first meeting. This is something that we've talked about, Anton, for several years. Talking about hiring a Human Resources Administrator to guide us through some of our personnel issues. It's a much-needed thing. The employees of this county need to have somebody to go talk to other than the attorney or the commissioners. It is not the attorney's responsibility, and he'll back me up on this because he told me he's not going to do it. It's not his responsibility or the commissioner's responsibility to decipher all the issues that employees may have. They need, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, Jack or Matt here, they can include me in English, but we need somebody that is not affiliated or a business that's not affiliated with the employees themselves. They got to have somebody to go to. And I've talked to Sheila about this and Paulie a little bit, that also the Human Resource Administrator will be handling all the insurance as well as all the drug testing. We was having the county employees being drug tested by our own health department. Not anymore. That's a no-no. You getting somebody drug testing, you don't send them down to our health department. Our health department will not drug test our own employees. Absolutely not. So when we get to the Human Resource Administrator established, they're going to be doing more than just talking to employees about, well, Johnny don't like me and Mary don't like me or whatever the case may be. It's going to be more than that. They're going to be taking over the insurance and also the drug testing, among other things, I'm sure. Our new county attorney here is Mr. Tony Overholt for the commissioners. He's also the council's attorney. And I've heard a couple people say, I can't believe you got the same attorney. Why not? He's sitting here with all 10 of us tonight. If he's got a question, he can ask us, we can ask him. I think it's a good thing to have the same attorney to help facilitate decisions that need to be made between both of us, because I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. I'm not perfect. So Mr. Overholt's going to be overseeing a lot of things. My question to the council is, you just help me with this, where do we start by getting, the Human Resource Administrator is appointed position by the commissioners, but the funding is going to have to come from the council. So where do we want to start in getting this ball rolling? I know the attorney is looking into whether it's going to be a firm on a as needed basis, somebody with the boots on the ground here at the courthouse for some time. He's looking into that, but where do we need to facilitate where we're gonna pay for this? And is there gonna be, do we have a dollar amount that we need to be looking at, Anton, or does anybody have?
Well, obviously out of the commissioner's budget.
Obviously wrong. Thank you.
My question, I have a question,
Yeah.
I've got a couple of questions. Are we looking at a hired position or hiring a firm?
Well, you would have the option of doing either. I know a lot of counties of this size, or maybe even a little bigger or a little smaller, have used outside companies to do the work, because they generally don't find that it makes sense to have somebody in-house. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way, but I think that's a little more common.
I think, I feel like that would fit us a little bit better. My thoughts are, since we had the line item in our budget for our own attorney, now that Tony's, everybody's, would that be a place to start? And let's see, what do we have budgeted?
30,000.
That's what I was thinking. So, that's
But I also think it'd be good maybe to do an outside one, at least in the beginning, and maybe grow into a position where we better understand what the purpose and needs of it, rather than just taking the position and say, okay, and then get it wrong.
Can you turn your microphones on, please?
I have mine on, is it,
All
can you
right.
still not hear it?
Well, we can hear, but
Oh.
maybe the public
Yeah.
can't. That's watching on.
They're only allowed to have 4 at a time on the work, so.
Yeah.
So where do we need, if we're talking about hiring somebody, and I agree with Steve, that sounds like a good way to start. We're gonna have to figure out like a dollar amount where we're gonna start. And
Do we have an idea how much a firm would cost for something like that?
I don't. I don't have a good idea of that. I think if you were to maybe put this out for bid, go ahead and advertise it. Once you start talking to firms, you could probably get a better idea.
okay. Well then, is that where we need to go? Do we need to figure out, if we advertise, we need to figure out what the job description is going to be, what all they're going to be handling, so we need to get that put together before we set it out to.
If we hired a firm like, it's the one that's doing our,
Wagner Irwin.
yeah, because they do that, I think.
Yeah, we wouldn't need, if you're gonna
That
go
wouldn't be
the
a-
contract route, there's
wouldn't
no
be a
job
job
description. It's
description.
gonna be a contract
Okay.
that we negotiate. The thing we should probably start with is tap into our auditor's knowledge and looking at how much time her staff has been spending doing human resource functions, like non-payroll,
Right.
but human resource up to this point. And think a little bit about how many hours of time perhaps we would be needing, at least initially. Come up with an estimate. And as Tony indicated, we would reach out to folks that are interested in bidding on that to come up with their rate and the type of services and availability they would have.
Awesome.
We would draft a contract, we would review that, and we'd figure out the funding at that point.
Okay.
Generally, from a funding standpoint, since we're going to probably not go as heavy on legal, because there's no reason to pay top dollar for that kind of service, then we probably would have enough money between the council's line item for legal and maybe a little bit from commissioners to fund a starter contract.
Okay.
And I'm just throwing out a figure, but if you were to put 30,000 for that, that would get you a lot of hours through a firm. And, or we could do 25 or something, we could always up it.
Sure.
But initially come up with some kind of a conservative starting point, and then we can evaluate it as we go,
Sheila, were you gonna continue with onboarding through your office, or were you gonna throw this over to HR? There's a lot of duties in that payroll.
I would like to keep just the payroll portion, and so. it would
Everything
be
else moved.
onboarding and I would suggest start with a part-time person. You can always increase it. If that person truly in HR says, look, there's X amount of hours, I need more than, 20, 25 hours a week, they're gonna be the judge of it. And I think they'll be busier, because I think our employees who desperately need it and want it are gonna utilize it more. I think there's, again, I've had 4 years of people walking in and saying, please don't repeat this, please don't tell who I said, because they're afraid there's gonna be repercussions or they're gonna lose their jobs and things, and I pride myself in, I've never repeated it, because again, they need somebody, and if it's against our office and things and the way things are done, we address it, but I do think that the employees are gonna be the ones to utilize it as much as just the insurances and giving them the comfort in knowing that they're secure in their jobs too.
But I mean, you were talking part-time, so you were talking a person or an employee, but we're talking possibly a
Well, if you do a
firm.
contract, either way,
Right.
I wouldn't start out at a $60,000-$70,000 job if you could get it done for $30,000, or let's start
Right.
at that number and see how many hours you can get in the work. And that person might come back to you and say, look, this needs to stay here, or this needs to go with this. We have to figure out how to blend it with the AOD and the payroll system as well. So I would definitely start out at minimal hours and a minimal amount, and maybe have to increase it if we see that the workload is there.
So do
Sam?
we-
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Gary.
So do we do this on an appointment basis with our employees if we're hiring a contractor, because they're not gonna be here on site? They're gonna be here as needed, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So we would have to make sure that whoever we talk to as a contractor, and our employees, that's gonna have to be understood.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
so you're thinking not having on-site contact as opposed to, having a county employee that's part-time
Well,
as an on-site contact?
me personally, I like on hand, so I like someone to be on hand, to be ready to go. But it could still be part-time.
Okay, I think if we'd have to pick here if we're gonna contract that or have an employee. If you contract that, those hours are gonna get ate up a lot by them just being on standby in the building.
Sure.
So
And
if you look towards a part-time Monday, Wednesday, Friday with a set schedule, something similar to that, as part-time hours, Sheila can find a competitive wage there, but that's a position I feel like you'd want in the courthouse more than not.
I agree with you on that, Joe.
Yeah.
If we do that, we'll need a job description then.
Well, we would, yeah.
Yeah.
My problem with like part-time is it's so hard to find somebody to do part-time. And we go full-time, we're looking at, another, insurance and all of that. I feel like would be a bigger cost, but
Well, with a firm, if they had like a hotline that our staff could call, that calls could be returned. I know the company I work for,
And they
they have
do.
a hotline that we
Direct,
can
you
call.
can actually
and then-
log in and talk to somebody right there instantly online. But my whole thing is, I don't think we know what we want enough to just hire somebody. Maybe we do, but I'm not sure what we want out of them. But I think a firm comes in with all the things that we need. They know it more than we know it. That was my reason for the firm. And I think in the future, it becomes a full-time position, but we also, once they have a firm doing everything, we understand, okay, we need them to do this, and this, and this is the person we're looking for, and now the job description is easy peasy, we understand what we want and need to have.
Well, I think we could definitely start out that way.
Yeah.
Then eventually, it could grow into, well, the firm's gonna tell us we need this, and this, and more of this, and this, then it may grow into something full-time here at the courthouse, somebody to be here hands-on, but I think that's a good point. But Joe, I'm with you, I'd like to have somebody here, but I think initially to get started, we look into, let Sheila get with us and figure out how much time she's spending, get back to us. Do you think we can know by the first meeting in March? Commissioner meeting? if we know by then, by the first meeting in March, then we can come with the council at the second meeting and try to get it put together what we want. And I think we have the attorney, reach out to these firms. He's been in business doing this kind of stuff. He knows some firms. Then we get to advertising and see what we can get. This-
I think that's a good idea.
I
Tony, are we
agree.
talking a physical firm or are we talking online firms? Because I know there's both out there.
These would be firms here in Indiana that are
Okay.
reasonably local.
That makes more
They're-
sense.
They're up by Indy, or they're, there might be some down here
Okay.
this direction.
Is everybody good with that?
Sheila, whenever you discuss insurance, do you have one person that you contact, or is it can be anybody whenever you ring in?
It depends on if it's county employee medical insurance or our county liabilities and those, so it varies on.
Do you think our health insurance companies may already offer that service and we don't know it yet? Where you can access the portal as an employee yourself?
I don't.
They do initial onboarding, Joe, but after that, it's once a year type
Okay.
thing.
Pat, you got,
If you would allow me, I could make a phone call. The HR administrator that we dealt with for years, he handled several facilities, several hundred people, and only had one staffer with him. He's kind of retired now, still doing some work at another facility, but maybe he could come in and sit down and advise on where you should go, what direction you should go.
Well,
The amount of people that you have.
that-
policies that you have.
that would be fine with me, and fine with the other commissioners. Make that phone call and we'll get him to the first meeting in March.
Well, I'll have him call you.
I figured you would. I seen that coming, didn't I, Pat? That'd be great. Have him reach out to him and we'll get him on the agenda, let him bring his knowledge, and the attorney will be here and discuss it and,
Well, he may want to just sit down with a group of you,
sure.
you know, not in a public meeting, but just to get advice where you might start with, or what you might start with.
Well, that'd be fine too, and I'd like, the council's input too on this, and, well, they're smart, they, and we can all meet.
That's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
that just-
You make that phone call and have him call me, sir.
I'll call him tonight.
Don't have him call me after 8 o'clock at night, though. Or before 5 in the morning. I get up at 4:30, but I like to have my coffee, so. Yeah, thank you, Pat, appreciate that. So, we all good with the human resources, we're moving forward with that, everybody happy with that? Anton, you happy?
Yeah, I just think we want to start small and conservatively with this. We want it budget neutral. We need to spend the time to research this properly and set it up. I wouldn't rush into this. Let's take our time to research the options and then come up with a proposal of some sort to make it happen. I think the big thing is its efficiency. You want to make sure that we're paying the appropriate level of cost for the service we're getting. Having formerly used, a higher cost legal component to it is inefficient. You're burning through hours at a higher rate. Here, you don't need to pay that higher rate for human resource work. And so this would be a better way to spend the dollars. And I think we can do that without costing the county any extra
Good,
in the process.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
that's good. Anybody else got
For
any
a long
input?
time.
Huh?
So we've been working on this for a long time.
Let's get her done.
Yeah, we're gonna get her done.
Anybody else got any questions? Public got any question about the human resource? Yes?
Yeah, I would just observe what I'm hearing. Sounds like we're looking for people to bid before or to give pricing proposals before we've identified what it is we're looking for.
No, we're gonna do the identification first.
Yeah, so I would just suggest that you get people who come in and show what it is they have to offer so that you can go through a process
Right.
of identifying and then from that request bids. And be careful not to get the cart before the horse on it.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll see what they have, each firm has to offer, then the gentleman Pat's talking about, see what he's got to offer, and go from there before we ever put it out to bid. That's a good point, appreciate that. Any other questions about the human resources? Anybody from the public? All right, we're gonna move on to the jail project. Now, this has been a 14-year plan, 16-year. It really doesn't make any difference, I don't guess. The jail project, the status, the funding. Mr. Jeff Peters here is from Peters Consulting, and thank you for coming, sir.
Yes, thank you.
You have been a wealth of information to this county for many, many years. Dan Zerner's here from Garmong, Chief Deputy Matt Miller from the Sheriff's Office and the public. I've got a couple questions. The jail project is going to move forward. We know that. We've spotted the piece of ground. We think everything's gonna work out there. We still got a few things to review to make sure it is exactly what we want and what we're gonna do. It's looking good. I believe we know that our cap is $25 million. Is that correct? We're standing on the cap of $25 million that we have to spend. My question to the council and to Mr. Peters and to everybody, the public, is we have a correctional facility tax that's a 22-year tax. I believe we're in our 4th year, 5th year.
Starting our 5th, I believe.
Starting our 5th year. That's a 22-year tax. That runs out after 22 years. My question is, where are we gonna pay for the jail from? What monies are gonna be used? I know we have some guidelines, and Anton will be sure to answer this. But before I put my name on the dotted line to build the jail, and Mr. Peters will help us with this, we need to make sure that we can pay for the jail before we ever say, yeah, we're building the jail, but we don't have $25 million, or the payment's gonna be too much. So my question to the council is, where's the funding resources coming from? How are we gonna pay for it? And before we can tell the public, Anton's always big about saying he needs all the information he can get in order to tell the public accurate truth. And that's where I'm at. People's asking me where we're gonna pay for it from. So I'll turn it over to the council and to Mr. Peters to give us some input on our finances to make sure that we're gonna be able to do this project.
So I'll jump in, because I know Jeff's going to largely need what we come up with too in order for him to analyze this
Yes.
properly. But nothing's really changed in the last 2 years as far as financing. The council already voted to set a limit to work within our current budget capacity. That includes the tax rates we've already set, the budgets we've already set and earmarked. So from a public standpoint, there shouldn't be and won't be any additional tax or any more money that we're going to be asking for. I mean, I'm not in favor of that. I don't think
No.
I think the general consensus is we're going to work with what we have. So that decision has already long been made. Now it's a matter of how do you fit these different pieces together into a total. Now, 25 million was an estimate based on what we knew last year as far as interest rate, the amount of money we have saved to date, the amount of years we have left in the jail lit rate fund. So at the time, I think 25 was kind of what we were thinking. And it appeared to work from a project standpoint in terms of how many beds we needed and the type of size project we were looking at. Now, that may have changed, though, since last year, because we know where costs have gone. They still go up. There's the land part to this that's still being worked on, and what kind of costs might be involved with prepping that. But generally, from a budgeting standpoint, at least for 17 years, we have $1,315,567 available per year for 17 years to pay some kind of loan or financing.
Can you give me a number again, please?
It's $1,315,567.
Okay.
Okay. That's $1 million from the jail lit. It's $315,567 out of Fund 1170, which we already have a line item for and earmarked. Now, for years 18, 19, 20, or whatever number of years beyond that, the jail lit goes away. That expires at the moment. And so you're left with the $315,567 that's certain, okay? But the way to make up for that is with our current cash that we've saved over the last 4 years, because we've not spent the money on the jail, but we've earned the money. And that right now is at about $3 million. So you've got to think about the amount we've saved as kind of your down payment, the amount of your budget capacity for the first 17 years, and then your remainder for the so many years beyond that. That's kind of what we have to work with. You figure in the interest rate that we're looking at, the latest cost projections based on the size project, and you're going to have to try to fit that stuff into a package that's going to work, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the way I see it. Whether that's 25 million, maybe. It could be 24.5, it could be 26. The other thing you got to think about is that the local income tax revenue is going to have a growth factor over those 17 years.
Right.
Now, I would caution that you need to be very conservative with that, because revenue based on income tax can be a little volatile. So if you have a bad economic period, your revenue could drop technically, or reduce or flatten from income tax.
Right.
So you got to be careful with that. You've got to look at the overall growth over 17 years, and if you're going to figure 2.5%, for instance, or 3%, which would probably be safe, then you're going to have that much more money, but I wouldn't base the project on that. I would use that as your contingency and your back-end backfill on the years where the lit drops off. So there's those kind of things which Jeff is really good at, would be able to crunch some numbers, make some projections, and help us kind of narrow down what that ultimate limit would be for the project.
Okay, good. The one thing that I'm glad he said, and so the public will know, nobody sitting up here at this table wants to increase taxes for anybody. Nobody. I won't support it. We're taxed enough the way it is, and so, Mr. Peters, we're gonna turn it over to you.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to come down.
Yes, sir, thank you for coming.
Yeah, what we've talked about before is just what Anton walked through. Since you have fully deployed all of your local income tax, if you want to stay within that parameter, then we'll have to go through the exercise that he talked about. One point as to if you were to fully utilize all of your income tax, because the income tax is seen as a revenue bond and not a general obligation property tax bond, it always is expected in the marketplace for you to have coverage. And the coverage is typically 125%. So you will have 25% of that you typically cannot use. That would go into reserve, but that works against you if you're trying to utilize all of that. Now, one of the ways around that is you can pledge property tax as a backup and then use the income tax to make the payment. Then you can fully utilize all of that income tax at 100% toward the debt service payment. However, from the public messaging standpoint and what you're telling taxpayers is, if this amount proves to be insufficient in any future year, this will go on the property tax rolls, or can go on the property tax rolls in order to pay it off.
So let me ask you a follow-up question real quick.
Yeah.
So again, it would be on paper, you're pledging that's your collateral, or that you would use that to satisfy the obligation, but only if needed. You'll still use the income tax to make your payments. I mean, that's your source of paying off the debt.
It will be your source of paying off the debt.
But you wouldn't have to earmark, you wouldn't have to budget some kind of dollar amount on an annual basis out of a property tax fund just because.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that-
that would be your backup source. But bond counsel will likely say to you, in order for you to make that representation as a fiscal body and as a county, that you have a reasonable expectation that you can make these debt service payments, they will probably want that 125% coverage. So we'll probably have to back that amount off. The other thing, when we go to the market and we issue these bonds that are payable with your local income taxes, is they want to see where are you at today. Even though we're going to have growth as you anticipate across that next 17-year period, the market does not want you to make any of those assumptions and rely on any of that income. So it's a static point in time when you issue the bonds. This is how much is going to go toward that. Now, what might happen is you'll accumulate some of these other funds, and then when you get late into that bond issue, you could potentially call the outstanding bonds, save yourself the interest of those last few years, and pay it off early. So that's kind of, and you can look at a model of that if you want to, have that public discussion as a fiscal body or as a community. But from the bondholder perspective and the amount up front, we'll be looking at 125% coverage. The property tax support will also get you a better bond rating so that you potentially will pay less in interest rates. I would anticipate that with your bond rating, we would probably purchase bond insurance, because I don't know that you'll pull a bond rating of a AA, which is what you could insure to if you insure those bonds. But again, I put together some numbers previously, but some of that was looking at if income tax was insufficient, what would the impact be to property tax? And I don't want to share those because at this point in time, you seem to have a consensus that you're going to cut a project to fit within the amount based on these parameters of what you currently have established in income tax rate, et cetera. Yeah, we'd be happy to run those numbers for you and work into that. When would the council and the commissioners like that information back?
As soon as possible, as soon as you can. I mean, I know you're a busy man, but
When will you next be discussing this, or?
tomorrow.
Can't get it tomorrow. Okay. So it really is ASAP.
We have, let me get to our February meetings. The first one is February 6th at 9 a.m. The second one is February 20th at 6 p.m. But, you tell us, Jeff, I mean, that's something you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really going to need that by February 6th, I'll get that done. If you need it sooner than that, I'll get that done. I just can't do it tomorrow.
If you can have it to us by February 6th, that'd be great. That would be wonderful.
Well, it'd also give us time for the RDC to have their meeting and get things wrapped up with that property and continue to move forward.
Yeah, because they're meeting next week.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, so.
Wednesday.
So one clarification on cash on hand, you have accumulated about $3 million in savings through today. Do you anticipate of that $1,315,000 at the close of 25, you'll be up to
Almost
$4 million?
Yeah, because there is going to be 300,000, which I wanted to bring up tonight as well. There's going to be 300,000 added to the 3 million in the next month, because last year's earmark needs to be put into that fund. We need an ordinance to do that. So it'll be 1.3 in the next couple of months, or 3.3. And then that particular fund receives revenue on a monthly basis. So it gets $1 million a year, so you divide that by 12. So each month we wait, there's another 12th that adds into that balance, if you will.
Okay.
Now, that's barring any emergent jail need, because we did earmark, in case there's an emergency, we're going to use some of that money. But at the moment, it's not really touched.
Okay.
And with that being said, Sheila, do you have the jail housing funds on there that tells how much we have in jail housing. Or Matt, do you have any idea of how much we got in jail housing?
Sheila knew far better than I do.
Yeah, jail housing has about 300,000. Now,
I was gonna say.
the concern there is we already committed to use jail housing when we approved the sheriff's wage proposal. So there is no money available in jail housing. It's spoken for, and that balance will drop over time. So,
Did we speak for all of it, Anton?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. That, you don't need to tell me.
Yeah. The other thing in this mix, by the way, is that if we're committing on a property, this property swap, we're obviously not going to need the property that we have now. And I would like to see, eventually, I would like to see that sold and liquidated. It would be worth a certain amount of money, obviously, and that, at the back end then, should be earmarked for ongoing maintenance. You know, if it's liquidated, put it in a fund and let it sit there, or use the money to pay off the debt, you know, at the back end. That could save a lot of interest, too. But keep that in mind, that that's an asset, there's a value to that, and that can be and should be used as part of this project, so.
Yeah, and I'd like for the commissioners to, sometime here in the near future, to get a price tag on that property.
We have to, Tony can correct me, I've been through this before, we have to get 2 appraisals on that piece of property.
That is correct.
So,
The minimum, yeah.
we can reach out to a couple appraisal companies and get that done. It may be a little bit premature since we're talking about at the end of a jail project, because that price is going to change, exactly. So we may want to hold off just a little bit,
It's
but it
just something we
definitely
need
needs
to
to be
do
done.
in the
Yes.
future here, because it's gonna come around quick before you know it. I mean, 14 years has passed just like that, and 6 months is gonna pass pretty quick, so, but that's something we definitely can do. That would help us pay down our loan or whatever's needed, that's definitely for sure, but.
Now, Jeff, from a financing standpoint, we've been talking about, and Polly can touch on this, a USDA-backed loan. There's some flexibility with that and some other things. Polly, can you maybe jump in on that?
Well, actually, Jeff and I talked about it a little bit, and you were going to reach out. Did you?
I did. I spoke with her. My estimates for a regular market financing today, interest rates would probably be a net interest cost of about 4.5%. Theirs at this point in time is 4.125, so 4.125. They do allow you to go out to 40 years. However, if you're utilizing your income tax just for that short period of time, I don't know that really helps you. Now, when your correctional facility lit were to expire, would you entertain the thought of deploying that 0.2%, assuming it's still eligible under the cap, toward public safety lit, and then utilizing that revenue stream that you would share with cities and towns, and utilize that for the remainder of that 40-year period? That would give you a completely different number.
Yeah, the trouble is you'd amateurize it for the 40 years because that's what they require, right? It's a 40-year.
You could. I did not talk to her about their prepayment provisions.
Okay, because we thought, at least the way I thought it worked is they had to come up with a 40-year thing. That's just their structure, and they have a payment. But we're not going to make that payment. We're going to make a higher payment up
And
to our limit. So it's
she-
going to be paid off quicker than 40 years.
She communicated with me at least a year ago that, I mean, there was no early penalty,
Right.
That was what I understood as well.
So there was no penalty for prepay.
The question is are they going to accept it with the backing the way it is, because we don't have a 40-year commitment on revenue, but we're not paying that small amount over that. We're paying a greater amount over a lesser amount of time. I mean, we're going to do that no matter what.
Yeah. and I think
In that
they would-
situation.
Yeah, if they're willing to do a 40-year amortization, I'm sure they will allow you to front load it.
Well, that's
I
what
mean,
we
they
would
would
do,
want that, for
yes.
sure.
Because my concern is if we do front load that and they're okay, if they're still requiring some kind of backing though beyond 17 years, that's a problem because we're not gonna, that's essentially raising the tax again or extending it, even though that's not the intent and that's not the route we want to take. Like you mentioned with the taxpayer, that's still an issue we would need to somehow address.
But as a council in general, you are not in favor of extending that point two
I'm
after
not.
it expires?
As a taxpayer, we're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can go less than 40 years though, right?
Yes, you could, and I'm gonna touch on the
He's gonna
USDA
research,
thing
yeah, he's gonna have to
here in a second.
research that.
What we typically find when we get into financings with funds that come through the federal government is you have a set of obligations that you have to meet in order to get funding through them. And I'll let the engineers and the cost estimating people talk more about this, but what we typically see is engineering costs go up, time period to do that goes up because you have to meet their obligations. And then the actual cost of the project goes up because of the number of bidders who won't bid on that, et cetera. So I would say, looking at 4.5 versus 4 1/8, you consider and talk to people smarter than me on estimating the prices as to what additional costs you might have going through the USDA versus conventional market financing. The other thing I needed to hit on to get the rest of my math done is another significant component of this project is going to be capitalized interest. And I know we've talked about this in the past, but you have the ability to issue general obligation bonds up to 1/3 of 2% of the county's assessed valuation, which is only a tick over like $8 million for a project, less anything that you have outstanding, which is probably the EMS building. Anything above that, you would need to set up a building corporation, which is what all schools do because they cannot fund the infrastructure they need under that 1/3 of 2% obligation. In that scenario, we do lease rental bonds so that the county is not actually the issuer of the bonds. The building corporation is the issuer of the bonds. The county and the building corporation have a lease agreement where the county levies the taxes on the people, collects the money, makes the lease payment. Lease payment is used to make payment to the bondholders through the building corporation. One of the drawbacks and restrictions of setting up that building corporation is you are not allowed to make payments toward principal until you can actually occupy and use the building. So construction of this, are we talking 18 months, 24 months? What is that period? Because you're going to have to pay interest and potentially take part of that $3 million you've accumulated today, send it to the bank trustee and say, this is to make the interest payment on these first either 3, because you pay bond payments twice a year, either on the first 3 or the first 4 bond payments, which, you know, potentially will be millions of dollars paid in this first part. Do we know what we think the construction period is?
18 months.
18 months. The only way around that is if the county were to have a replacement asset that's worth $18 million, you can actually put that into the lease and not have to capitalize the interest and start to make those principal payments right away. Is there an asset that the county would have that would be in that ballpark range?
The only thing that I know of that we have that's valued close to that is courthouse, and it's valued at $11 million.
Okay, so the courthouse is approximately 11 million, and what about the current jail? Because it's
$20.
paid off as well.
No, I don't know, sir, but we can find out.
Okay. The courthouse is not encumbered at this point in time, there's no debts
No.
against it, right? Same with the jail?
Yeah.
Fully paid off?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you could get a ballpark and communicate that to me of the value of the jail, potentially that makes your funding a little easier. It helps to get your par value up on those bonds to get to your $25 million project. But we will look at that.
Yeah, as it's very evident here, and I'm just gonna be honest, when you get into these complicated things, you've got bankers involved and all this, there's all these little turns you take, someone's getting money. And it lessens our ability to do something right for the taxpayer efficiently. That's what I do not like about this process. So whatever steps we can take to eliminate delays and capitalized interest and eliminating red tape and having to put aside 25% more just because, we need to look for ways to get around those things and find the right combination that's going to maximize our ability to come up with a project. And your help is greatly appreciated in that effort. I think you would agree.
Oh, yeah.
There's got to be ways, even if it's creative and never been done before, we've got to come up with ways to maximize our dollars.
Market never likes things that have never been done before.
Well, I understand.
We'll walk through all
But
those
yes.
traps and get you to your best scenario.
That would be,
And again, it
what we're
would
looking
be
for. Yeah.
acceptable to use the property tax as a backup as long as.
yeah, and if it's on paper, I don't have a problem with it, but we're not going to spend it and we're not going to have it. So, but,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, we can, on paper, we could shift around a few things, but we in
I just want.
zero use of that.
Right, because
I
I
mean,
want, I know this council's committed, I just don't want,
15 years from now.
future councils to, drop the ball and put it on property taxes.
I want to bring up a point with the council. Jeff came down here twice free gratis. Now we're asking him to take a big step here for us. At some point, we need to pay this gentleman or come up with some type of an agreement. I think we need to make that decision here tonight if we're going to continue to use his services. And Jeff, you and I have had many, many conversations, and I appreciate you coming down here again. I told you I wouldn't blame you if you didn't come, but I appreciate you being here, and I know everybody else here does too. So I think that we need to come up with some type of fee agreement or whatever you're going to charge for this as we move forward.
Oh, I agree. I don't expect you to do for nothing. Yes, Sheila.
So the 315,000 that you were wanting an ordinance for to move that money to reserve, is that the money that's in the 1170-30110 other services fund? Because we've used some of that, it won't be the full.
yeah, whatever's
because-
left, it's in 1170.
Okay.
That line
so
item in
you
1170.
paid for the
Appraisals come out of there for the.
Yeah, and that's a good use of that money.
The only thing left, I think,
Yeah.
Polly, is we have to do is a survey yet, and that was roughly about 15,000, but we couldn't do that until everything was voted on and approved, so that's kind of the next step.
But the council had approved to use that line item for anything related to the jail. So is that where this is gonna come out of?
Sure.
if you-
Yeah, I mean, why not? That's what it's for. It's easiest because it's already budgeted. And again, it doesn't matter to me, whether it's 300's left or whether 200's left or which way or another, it doesn't matter if it's being used for the
For the
purpose
jail,
it's
right.
intended for.
And I think that's a good fund to draw
I mean,
from. because
yeah.
We can't expect Jeff, and we don't expect you to. That's right.
Right.
And I just asked
Appreciate that.
Tony if he could have an ordinance ready by the February 6th meeting, so I'll work with him to get what we need and whatever the balance is, because I have to have all of the encumbrances done by the time I finish my annual report, February the 28th. So you guys would need to, is it a commissioner's ordinance or is it a council ordinance? Would it be a council because we're moving the funds?
Contract for him, his services they would
It is
need
for
to.
us.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be interesting.
The funding is already there, so.
We just need to draft up a contract for them. Pat?
I just had a couple of questions on the loan itself. Number one, is it, there's an accruement of interest during the time that you got the money? That's like a simple interest loan, I'm asking. And is it gonna be like a construction loan when you're drawing a certain amount as you need it? Or do you take the whole 25 in advance?
We take the whole 25 at once when you close the bonds, so you'll have all those proceeds. then you'll turn around and invest those proceeds. And during the construction period, you can invest it for whatever you can get. There are certain restrictions with arbitrage, which is, earning more money off of your tax-exempt financing. But in that initial construction period, typically you can make as much money as what you're paying in that period. Of course, as it's going to be dwindling down as you utilize those proceeds to pay vendors, then it will go away. But it is the lump sum up front. You invest it throughout that draw period as it goes down in order to try and offset that and again, maximize proceeds.
The reason I'm asking this is, we had this discussion a couple of years ago, and there's certainly a way to lessen the years that you're paying much, much quicker than, making a payment, here and there, but you said that you can't pay towards principal for a certain amount of time. So
Yeah.
if you can't pay towards principal, then is it accruing interest?
Yes. Now, you can't pay toward the principal during the construction period, but typically on bond issues and of this size and length, 8 to 10 years after the time that you initially issue and you get your 25 million, you should be able to call those bonds or, basically pay them off. So if you have accumulated excess funds across that first 8 to 10 years, you can make a call and shorten some of your interest and shorten the amortization period. Or what you typically do is you continue to invest those funds until you get to the point where you can take out all of the tail end of it and just make it go away.
Did that answer your question, Pat?
Yes, pretty much.
And Jeff will be back at the February 6th meeting with these numbers and details for us, so, please come back to that. And I know you're a numbers person yourself and on the loan and banking side of things, so I appreciate your input too.
Yeah, and as for us being paid, what I would propose is just let me keep track of the time, see if we get to a project. If so, we'll just throw it into the project funding, because this is something that we'll have to do anyway. If there's everything that I do today, if that's how we fund it, I would have had to have done that anyway. If you get to the point where you don't do a project, then I'll tell you what my hours are and we'll work it out there. Appreciate you guys.
You've been good to us, and, we have to have some sort of trust factor between people too, so, I trust you, Jeff, and you've been good to us for the last several years. I trust what you're gonna deliver the goods, so we'll make it
Appreciate it.
work.
Thank you.
Is Jeff gonna act as the liaison for this project, as like representation for the commissioners?
I think he should, absolutely, especially on the financial side of it. Yes.
Yeah, and assuming that we go forward with the project, we'll have a formal contract. We will serve as the municipal advisor. It's a specific designation through the SEC and the MSRB, which is the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, where we will serve as the county's fiduciary to make sure that you get a fair deal in the open market. Everything we will do will be at your direction and for the benefit of the county in order to get the project at the lowest financing.
Perfect.
Because we'll be dealing with underwriters, assuming we don't go the USDA route. You'll deal with underwriters that will actually sell it on the open market, but we help them at pricing to make sure that the pricing that they're going out and getting is within the parameters of where the market is at that point in time. Again, we'll talk about the structure of having this time period that is only 17 years and this amount. How are we going to fund that with the cash we have on hand versus capitalized interest and all those things? And we'll fit all those pieces of the puzzle together in order to minimize the cost, maximize bond proceeds, whichever works best for you.
You good with that, Joe?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm good with it, Jeff. Anybody else got any questions?
I've got a question, non-financial. It's on the property swap. So on the old property, we know that there's an old dump component to that. Is there any liability at all that is left, would come up later potentially? How do we make sure that that is closed for good and there's not gonna be some surprise?
All that goes with, the IDM report has been passed on. And
Okay.
all of that, when the land transfer is done, or swap, or whatever you want to call it, that goes to the new property owner.
Okay.
The responsibility
There would
no longer is on the
Be
county.
zero chance that
Well,
there'd be any,
and to add to that, and more burden for him, this is, sorry, sir. I got you for 6 months anyway. This is something he's gonna have to look into. I had a very lengthy meeting with Craig Kaufman today. It was a good meeting, a phone call meeting, and I believe he's spoken to you once already.
Yes.
And he wants to make sure that the county attorney and council attorney is honed in on this too. That he knows the ins and outs, the good and the bad of the property on 43 as well as the property out here. Making sure that we're not gonna be bound by something legal 2 years down the road, or 3 years, or 5 years down the road. So it was a very productive meeting with Craig Kaufman. He will not move forward. They're having an RDC meeting next week. It's gonna be a good meeting, but he wants to make sure that Mr. Overholt is brought up to speed on everything. And he wants his opinion and advice to make sure that we've closed all the doors, all the loopholes, and we're not left hanging out there in the wind somewhere that it's gonna catch us.
yeah, that's good.
Because EPA's hunting.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, they're smelling around town now and looking for somebody to hang.
Oh, they love to, so unfortunately, it's gonna be kind of put on his lap again, but you know, we've been at this for 14 to 16 years, and we wanna move forward in a good direction. I think we are moving forward in a good direction. The last thing we wanna do is leave the attorney out of it and miss a loophole somewhere that's gonna come back and bite any of us or the public in the hind end. So when he gets his teeth sunk into it and looks at the environmental study and the property and all that stuff, when he gives us the thumbs up or thumbs down, that's what we're gonna do.
And John Reeves has those IDM reports, through our health department. He's the one that provided those from the state, so you can work with John, or at least reach out to him, I guess.
John Reeves.
Reeves,
Anybody from the public got any questions about the jail project? I know it's been a long project, but we're gaining ground and we're heading in the right direction. Yes,
Yeah, we talked about selling the old jail at some point, all that money going straight to the project, theoretically. Forgive me if I'm misremembering this, but we also had a piece of property we were holding on to in anticipation of something around the jail that had storage units and rental income off of it. Is that property going to be sold, and has all the revenue off of that gone to the jail project as well?
we brought that up, well, that's part of, I mean, just my 2 cents worth, 2 questions, answer the first one. If we're gonna sell the property, we'll sell it all. I am not in the storage unit business. It's my personal opinion. I'm not in the storage unit business.
Appreciate that.
So, but if we sell the property, I'm assuming we're gonna sell the storage unit and the rest of the property goes with it. No sense in hanging on to a little piece of property right there. We'd sell it all. As far as the storage unit money, we talked about this at the first meeting. I think we talked about the council meeting too. The storage unit money is going to be that's not. That money is going to be used for the future jail project. Okay, now there's like $160,000 in there. We've got some fees that come out of that for maintenance, so on and so forth. A part of the building department, Suzanne's, part of her salary comes out of that. That is something that the council is going to have to deal with. That's because it's a council issue. But the storage unit fee stuff, somebody's still gonna have to manage them for a time being. Which is probably gonna be a short time being if we get the ball rolling here, maybe another couple of years at the most. But the money from the storage unit fees all monies except for what needs to be for who's gonna manage it, and the maintenance is going to the jail project.
And is there accumulated fees over this last 2, 3, or 4 years?
We got $160,000 in, give or take. We'll have to draft up, I guess, what is it, ordinance resolution or something to change. The money right now sits at the building department. It has always been my understanding when the sheriff's office paid off the loan for the storage unit fees, which we did several years ago, that money, the proceeds from the storage unit money was supposed to go to the jail project. But it didn't go to the jail project, it's all in the building department fund. I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Well, that was my recollection as well, and I disagree with it too.
So what we're doing, we're gonna change that. There's $160,000 in there, minus what we've got to pay out to oversee the storage units and time being and the maintenance fees. The rest of the money is gonna be reallocated to the jail project, because it's just another sum of money we can utilize.
Yeah, and in that case, because of its limited nature, that would be the perfect place to take our upfront incidentals and things that we're accumulating now, whether you have appraisals or testing or
Sure.
legal expense, those kind of things, that would be perfect to utilize those funds for. Because it's not gonna become a funding source for payment of a loan.
No.
But it is gonna be a valuable asset in the very short term to cover those costs and make it easier for us to manage the project.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna get that with the ordinance, new ordinance resolution, I don't know, they got so many names for things you have to do stuff with. But, we're gonna get that done, it'll be done by the February 6th, hopefully, meeting, to get that handled, but the proceeds from the storage unit will go to, like Anton said, to help fund the jail project. It's a no-brainer. We're gonna need every dollar we can get to fund the jail project. Anybody else got any questions for public, anybody? Yes, sir.
Town standpoint, sewer department.
Yes, sir, hi, Mike, NMC back there.
Reserve a certain amount for the interconnection, or how we're gonna handle that, because if we don't have the capacity, where are you gonna tie in, and how we're gonna come up with that capacity?
Yeah, do we have an update on any of that, Mike?
Have a what?
Update on any of that?
We have our engineers, but I've never had an engineer from the county contact our engineers to verify what type of usage you'll have, so many gallons per minute, and that type of thing, and that has to be figured in at the end, before we tie it all in, because we can't afford the upgrade unless we have help with the upgrade.
I thought that Greg from Elevatus talked to Drew. Is that?
Yeah, Drew's been giving you all the estimates
Yeah.
he can give you.
I know they've been talking.
Without an engineering fee, and we've been expecting an engineer from your side to contact our engineer.
Oh, Greg has not contacted you then?
Okay.
Okay, I didn't realize
Okay,
that.
so-
I thought he had.
Well, appreciate that. Hang on a second, Mike. Engineer needs to contact your engineer, correct?
Right, and I just don't wanna get lost in the outskirts of this thing, because there is other dollars that are needed to get this tied in properly into the sewer system that we have here in town. There's only so much capacity there. And we're building new, we're not asking for your contribution toward the new, we're asking for your contribution to exact what we can handle at the point you tie in.
If I had your money, Mike, I'd burn mine, you know what I'm saying? No, it is a good point, because it's a substantial figure.
I'm sure, anything we do in the sewer department, we wanna extend it out like 30 years. It's gonna cost $30 million to extend it out, not the jail project, but to extend it out over that 30 years to facilitate the county's use of the sewer system as well as the town's use. The last thing we can do is ask the town people to supplement what goes on out in the county, because you're tying into it in the county, we appreciate that. But fair shares have to be paid right down the line.
You understand? So we need the county engineer to get in contact with the town engineer.
Yeah, the Commonwealth, and they've been, Drew has graciously give you cost estimates as best he could, because he don't build jails. These guys here build jails.
Okay?
Okay.
Make it happen. Anybody else got any questions about the jail? Dan, you got anything?
The only thing I will say, just listening to the tone of this, and by the way, hello, everybody, I'm seeing this year, Happy New Year, is that our experience, and I'm just going to tell you that Greg Garland's grown so much, we've got over 500 million in jail projects right now between Indiana and Georgia. So we have a lot of experience in this, and the use of USDA funds has been tried several times, but it's never worked in any of our projects. And the reason it hasn't worked is there's so much red tape, and it generally strings the project out at least 12 to 24 months to get started. But more importantly is it requires Davis-Bacon participation and all kinds of obligations on the part of contractors, and the contractor pool falls into about half. So when we go to bid it, the price of the project, I would say, goes up 10 to 15%. So when you look at already struggling for 25 million and sewer fees and everything to talk about, I would caution you to go from 4.5 to 4 and 8 or whatever the numbers Jeff had. You're going to lose that in the price of the project. So that's my 2 cents worth on that particular issue.
Okay. Gary, in back? Jeff?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is, today, is it true that the current jail is using the sewer of the city of town of Spencer?
That is correct.
So any additional usage would be incremental as opposed to brand new, although you have to extend to get out there. But the load on the sewer system, I'm just trying to be logical here. The load on the sewer system isn't going to be twice what it is now, or is it? That's,
Well,
I guess, the
if
question.
I can address that. This jail will undoubtedly be built for a few more prisoners than you currently have, so there may be some increase there. On the other hand, this jail will be far more efficient with water and sewer usage than that 40-year-old jail. But we have controls on every cell. We can limit the number of showers, we can limit the number of water use. I would say your water consumption may go down by as much as 50%. So when you start to look at those things, my guess is if you took the current jail load that's coming out of there right now, and you factor in 1.2% or 1.23, you'd probably be pretty close to the load you're gonna have.
It's not at the same point in the sewer system.
No, I'm just saying the discharge coming out of jail, that would give you a pretty good.
That would give us a better idea if the engineers on this thing was talking to our engineers.
Right.
And we would know what
And
we're
that's
talking
what
about.
Gary's gonna facilitate. Gary's gonna facilitate a call. That's all I have to say.
And the other question I have is, we hear this 25%. Is that, I'm trying to understand how it would impact the amount of money we had to accrue every year. Would it go from $1.3 million to about $1.625 million if that's what we insist on doing? Is that what we're saying, or
No,
do I have it wrong?
it's the inverse of that. If you brought in $1,250,000 a year, you can only pledge $1 million of that towards debt service.
Okay.
Because the $250,000 that you're paying, you'll get to collect and keep as cash, but you can't pledge it toward payment of the bonds. You can just accumulate it and pay off the bonds in the future. That is the protection for the bondholders if you have, as Andrew or as Anton talked about, drops in the economy and drops in the income tax in a future period, you'll still have coverage to make sure bondholders are paid in full.
Thank you.
But even if we pledge the property tax to make up that difference, I'll talk to bond counsel, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna come up with that same conclusion, that you're still gonna have to show coverage in order for you to represent in those bond documents that you do not anticipate using the property tax, but it's still there to back it.
Anybody else, any comments?
As opposed to using the property tax, could you just have could you put a loan against your largest asset, such as the courthouse, as opposed to pledging property tax? like an equity loan of some sort.
Mortgage the courthouse?
No, but that's kind of what we're talking about, of avoiding the capitalized interest, is that the building corporation would basically take the courthouse and the existing jail as collateral to make sure during the construction period of the new jail, that there's an asset there to cover that construction period of time and that construction risk.
But then that asset becomes
Cannot-
available.
Yeah, but you cannot take a fixed asset today and borrow money against it like you would a mortgage. Yeah.
Chris?
The other thing that goes along with that, is as we finance projects, is it has to be viewed as a marketable
You want
asset.
any of this?
And so the courthouse is not something that any business or any individual's gonna step up, like, I'm gonna buy a courthouse and get use it. So it's really not a viable approach.
Chris, do you have a question?
I did. Have you checked with the Indiana Bond Bank?
Bond bank is gonna be similar in structure.
Yeah, but they have some special things going on for the smaller counties
Yeah, and
that the treasurer is working. I just wondered if you.
yeah, in the bond bank financings, again, you end up with some other obligations that you don't have in an open market financing. I don't think it would be as cumbersome as the USDA financing. You do get an interest rate that's based on like a derivative of a AAA bond rating, which, you know,
Well, you
is
get
the
the
best you
states,
can have.
you get the states bond, like, our county doesn't have a great rate.
Yes.
But we get the states if we use them, we get their rate.
Yes, and we do look at, when we do our fiduciary duty and look at the different options, we always look to the bond bank as well as the open market and see, but they're typically just other hoops that you have to jump through, and that interest rate doesn't significantly improve versus what you can get on the open market once we insure it up to a double A.
When
I
I,
have a question too on Joe Fromm's comment. You said you can't take a loan on interest or just assets. My understanding you can, because then you're paying that, so that's a fixed loan payment. So you're actually paying that down, so then if you're borrowing to build the remaining capital of the project is a lot lower, which lowers your interest rate, lowers your payments.
Who would you borrow the funds from?
I think the bond bank will have some special things. That's why I was asking about that, if you talk to them.
The bond bank typically is on issuing the bond side. I've never seen in my 30 years of practice where you actually borrowed against an asset like that. One is, you know, as Dan said, if they have to foreclose on it, nobody wants a courthouse. Then they're never gonna want it. So,
Just people buy for, I mean, they pay payments and stuff. It's just no different than a jail. I mean,
when I,
it's just typically from the bond side, we see that issuance, and that's what the bond bank does as well. I've never seen where you borrow money against the asset.
a year ago, when I looked into USDA loan and I reached out to Daniel about the bond bank, and at that time, they weren't comparable, especially an interest rate. And he said that, you know, they couldn't compete with that, but that was a year ago. I'm sure things have changed, but, so, I mean, I have reached out to Daniel and talked with him and about the bond bank, and so he has been.
Is that compared to a USDA?
Yeah, at that point,
You
we
just
were
said that-
talking about the, like I said, a year ago, that we were just comparing.
He, from what I understand, he kind of just said we can throw the USDA stuff out the door.
Right, right.
Well, again, I'm just offering you my experience that it hasn't worked in the past for those reasons.
And you're an expert in this field, right?
Absolutely. Any other questions?
My point was that I had, it had, not that the USDA loan was where we were going, but I had contacted the bond bank at that time.
Anybody else? Everybody good? Thank you, Jeff, appreciate it, Dan, everybody.
Thank you all.
Okay, we're gonna move on and get a updated radio project focus. New budget amount, consultant agreement. Now, come on up, whoever's in. Terry, what's here? Donut or something? Thanks, Jeff, appreciate it.
All right.
Is Terry here?
Terry is here. I stepped, he just walked by. He stepped out for just a second, so I think a couple of things that we need to talk about.
You gotta go red, Chris, gotta go red.
Yeah, they're one thing about that. Things that before. Okay. So, the radio project, one of the things that we need to address the commissioners about is we've got a new budget amount that we need to kind of have some approval or just at least discussion with the commissioners about. This project was looked at by a board that was put together, or a group that was put together to oversee this project. And we came to the commissioners back in December with some information, and the commissioners gave us the approval to go to the council for $801,874. And we had a 911 board meeting and looked at some different things. One of the things that we really looked at was the propagation studies that were done on how well this radio system is going to cover the county. And knowing that the limitations of the 800 megahertz system that the sheriff's department is on, the poor coverage that they have, we thought this could help out even the sheriff's department if we added a few more channels to the program. That way they could benefit from the overall coverage that we're going to have. This system would bridge them right into the 800 system that they're currently using, so they would see no change other than having coverage 95% of the county. So the 911 board came to the council and talked to them about it, and to add the 3 channels onto this program, or onto this project, brought the project to $1.293 million. And the county council, I think, has identified the money where they could do this whole project. The rub is, the commissioners in December told us we could go to the council for $800,000, but when we went to the council, we ended up getting 1.3. So I guess with the attorney's advice, whether we just need to decide whether the commissioners need to agree to that new price, or whether they just need to acknowledge that, yep, the council did this and we're good with it. I don't know how that needs to happen.
Well, I mean, personally, I don't think we have to make a motion for it. I think, the council approved the 1.239, or whatever it is, you know. And
basically 1.3 million.
1.3 million. I mean, if I can make a motion for the commissioners to approve this amount and to go along, I guess, with the council, that way it'll be legal. So
yeah,
to do that scope, Sam.
Yes, sir.
Because it's a change in scope, because now we're adding 3
yes,
700 megahertz channels. Well, you've been involved in, Gary.
sure.
And so, that was very enlightening to hear from the council, because obviously, public safety comes first, and you have a severe problem on your
Absolutely.
emergency logistics.
Well, and I appreciate the council. They stepped right up to the plate with this, and as we know, public safety is number one thing here in the county. So,
And I did meet with the state, Sam. I told you I would, and with the new director that they have at the state, and we met for a couple hours. And yeah, there is no plan on adding another location down here. There is no plan to even add additional channels down here. So, no. Whatever, it's facetious. Yeah, I think that's the word my wife uses, but anyway.
imagine that, so.
Yeah,
So,
we've been fighting.
But anyway,
I told you I would do that,
Sure.
and I did. Okay.
Well, I make a motion that we support the $1,293,066 for the radio tower communications project that the county council so graciously supported in their first meeting of the year.
I got a question real quick. Matt, is that,
Oh, it's great for us.
okay, you're good with that?
Yeah, that's, our equipment that we currently have is, we're probably 98% compatible. Some reprogramming of radios, and we've got twice the coverage we have right now.
Okay, so under this, that's all covered then?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
This will improve their capabilities immensely.
but we have to have it.
They've got so many holes on the state system where they can't communicate.
Right.
But with this new system that we're putting in, if they can jump on board and then we bridge them over, it's gonna give them,
And we're still able to utilize the current 800
Yeah.
megahertz statewide system. We're not losing anything, we're only gaining.
And this is something that the advisory board met about and you discussed, and you come to agreement, because that's what we asked you to do, to bring it to us, and that is correct? Okay.
I'm gonna second your motion. Did you get your motion out? I'm
I
sorry.
got a motion now, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
And then the second item, you want to bring it up, you want me to?
yeah,
God, there's
it's
more?
just, so we,
Do they have this?
I don't believe they do. We brought Terry on board to help us figure out exactly what we needed for this project to be, and as an advisor. And he's fulfilled those duties, and now we're to the stage where we're going to start building out the project. So this is an addendum to the agreement that brings him on to oversee the project from here to the finish. If he would charge one huge fee and then we ended up not building it out, we've already paid him, the fee to build it out. So that's why he splits it like he does. That he charges a fee for the design phase, and then if we decide to move forward, then he charges a fee to oversee the project.
So this one here gets us to completion and operation.
Yeah, that's what it does, Gary. I always do it as an addendum to an agreement I already have. I can't really put this in there because when we start the assessment, we don't know what we're going to end up with, okay? So what this is an addendum to the C-103-2015 agreement. I'm an architect, so I use AI agreements, okay? That's a general agreement, which I can send you a copy of. And there's three parts under task 4.1 that are added. One is the design and engineering of the 180-foot structure that you will own over in Patricksburg. The other one is the FCC Section 601, which is the application of the 3 channels for you guys to own. The commissioners will own those, of course. Then the last one is the oversight, and you can see how it's all broken down. The biggest thing for everybody to know, there's a thing called a BEAR testing and a DAQ testing. That really does your coverage. See, because obviously when I did the assessment, I did a propagation myself, but I don't know what radio vendor is going to be doing this. So they are required under the RFP to submit their own propagation analysis. So I attached that to their agreement, and what's unique that I do when I do radio consulting, I carry over what I do as an architect a lot. And that is, this actually has a surety involved. So if the radio vendor doesn't perform properly and get the coverage properly, and I've had it happen on 2 projects, we will threaten and go back to the surety if needed. That's where the guarantee comes in, okay? The guarantee is an 8 dB, which is basically a house that you can go into for 95% of the county. And then within Spencer, I think it was 18 dB, because we have commercial buildings, okay?
So is
Does
this
that
a
make
total of 85,000? Is that what we're looking at here?
I don't know.
2015 and 15?
85,000.
Yeah, the tower's 20, FCC application's 15, and the oversight and deployment is 50.
So, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I'm being honest out in the wheelhouse. I'm not gonna sit up and act like I do. So, Chris, Matt, the advisory board, the people that are here, have you looked at this?
I don't know if we did as an advisory board, did we?
I don't know if we looked at this again.
You still have the radio committee assembled as well?
Yeah. Pardon me?
You still have the radio committee assembled as well? Is that still together, or is that no longer?
Yeah, we just haven't met since.
Since the last review and the recommendation that was there.
Is this something that, that the advisory board and the committee need to look at?
I think we've
discussed it. I think everybody's clear on what this is and
Okay.
what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think it's, there's a lot of money being invested in this thing. And I think it's a little bit of insurance to make sure that what we're paying for, what we've invested, gets done correctly, because you said you don't know what he's talking about.
Clues.
We
He's explained a lot to me, and I've learned a lot, but I mean, if someone came out and told me, hey, we built this, it's done, it's good to go, I have no way to check it and make sure, I don't know.
Okay.
We need somebody to be able to do that.
So with our legal counsel, Terry and Chris, and, you need time to look this over?
Yeah, I have no idea. I saw
Yeah.
this 2 minutes ago.
That's
I don't know
right.
what it is. I haven't seen the
Well,
agreement or anything.
Because and like I said, it's your choice, but if you approve it pending legal review, I will send you the original C-103-2015 that was done.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know what this amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation.
I do too.
Based on legal counsel.
Yeah, I recommend that, I make a motion to approve this upon legal counsel's giving us the exact okay on it.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
absolutely, yeah.
And in the meantime, until we get his okay, if there's anybody from the advisory board that hasn't seen this or hasn't looked at this, make sure they get a chance to look at that in the upcoming few days,
Okay.
just so everybody is on board.
Now, why wasn't this put into this here? That's
What's
what
that?
I'm trying to figure out, how come it wasn't put into?
Oh, no, it is.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yeah, the cost is in there. I've done hundreds of these.
Okay, so the cost is already in?
Yeah,
here.
it's already embedded. This is not an additional
Okay, this
cost
is not,
issue.
okay.
No.
Oh, okay.
The 20,000 is.
I'm like, no.
Because we thought it was an extra.
Yeah,
I did too. No, I am very sorry. The cost is embedded in there. Yeah, Anton, you were some. Yeah, it was already in that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and two of them you have to do. I mean, go ahead.
So, Sam, I'm gonna make a motion that the president sign this agreement based on legal counsel's approval.
I second that. No, Dave seconded. All in favor? Aye, who
Is that
seconded?
good with you, Tony? I mean, help us
I
out.
gotta see it. But
Yeah, I mean, once you tell us it's okay, without being a phone call to Sam,
Do you want me to wait to sign the agreement till you review it, sir?
yes.
Yeah, that will definitely have to wait.
So upon his review and, bring
And
it
that's
back to us?
typical. That's
Typical?
absolutely typical.
Sounds good.
But I'll just need your email so I can send you the documents.
Well, Gary made the motion, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0.
All right.
6 months, sir. That's for 6 months, buddy. Yeah, you might want to take that tie off, I'm telling you.
And
Yes.
just to kind of, to reiterate the importance of having a professional involved, I mean, if the specs say, or his knowledge knows that you're putting an antenna 300 feet in the air and you're supposed to run a certain diameter coax down to your repeater system, without his expertise, the radio vendor could tell me, oh yeah, that's all right, and then we have problems down the road, and we say, hey, we're having problems, oh, well, it needs new coax, and you should have had, this is what I quoted, you should have had me upgrade to a better. This guy's gonna be on top of it and no, that coax isn't meant to run 300 feet, it can only max out at 150 or something.
Is that the spot we're in now?
By the way, that's a real issue.
So I understand the importance of hiring him, but can you explain a little bit of the spot that we're in and why?
Yeah.
Because we didn't have a sturdy bump before, right?
We've never, to my knowledge, we've never had a surety bond. There have been projects that we have got into that we didn't have an expert involved in, and it's turned around and bit us. Didn't perform like it was supposed to, and the answer from the vendor is always, well, I put in exactly what I told you I would. Well, we're not experts. We don't know whether or not what they projected or what they told us would work. We didn't know if it was going to work or not. We take their word for it. We're over that, and we've got a professional involved now.
Well, yeah, we've been snookered long enough.
Yeah, the big thing is, Sam, and Gary, I already mentioned it to you a long time ago, this is a P25, so your subscriber units, if they want Motorola, Harris, Kenwood, whatever, they can go onto the system if you allow them permission. It's your system. You have priority on your system, okay?
So Matt and Chris, you guys are good?
I believe so.
All right. Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, Board of Finance meeting, what does that mean?
While they're all here, or are we gonna take it back to them?
No, I'll just take it back to him. Once he gets it, his approval, then we'll take the funding officers back. Old business, nothing on old business. New business, I messed up, and Jack White's probably mad at me, but you know, my dad always told me you got two choices, you get over it or die with it. So, Jack left it with you. So, the DNR signed MOA agreement, it's somewhere.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Now I gotta find the stuff that Jack gave me.
It's,
So this here's a memorandum of understanding between the Department of Natural Resources and Owen County. We've got a siren system in the county that it's an outdoor warning system that's set off during certain events, mostly wind events. And the Department of Natural Resources, after the tornado we had a couple of years ago, has decided that they want to add some sites on their property.
absolutely.
So one will be, they're proposing to put one out at McCormick's Creek, one on the state forest out west somewhere, and one at Lieber. The problem is they don't have the ability to set those sirens off, so they want to jump onto our system, which is at really no cost to us. They will maintain their own sirens. One of their sirens goes down, they'll fix it, they'll have their own maintenance agreement and all that. This is just an agreement that allows our radio system to set off their sirens also when the rest of them go off into county.
And I've been through several of these meetings and stuff, and it's all good. I'm glad that the Department of Natural Resources, I mean, they stepped up to the plate and added 3 new sirens for the county. At no cost to us, but it could be a life-saving event. We've all been through it, and we've seen what happened.
The noise won't end at their property line.
No.
So there are areas in the county that we're going to benefit from them having a siren
More coverage.
on their property.
I'll make a motion that the commissioners sign the memorandum agreement between the Board of Commissioners of Owen County and then the Department of Natural Resources.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
He's got it.
He's got the updated one. Okay.
I got something.
Is there an updated one?
This one you told me to sign right here.
With him as
What's the date?
president.
23rd.
The one that Jack gave me had Gary as president, it was an older one. And
Yeah, it's been changed. Yeah, it's been changed.
That's why we're.
Yeah.
This is the back page of the rest of that, guys. While they're doing that, also, we have, Chris, you have the other one?
I have the other one.
Just go right ahead.
This is the maintenance agreement on the sirens that we currently have in place with ERS. Like I mentioned, it does not include anything that DNR has. They're taking care of their own. So this is a maintenance agreement for the sirens and equipment that we have currently in the system. And that's what I know about that. I was asked to present this to you guys also. Do you have a copy of this?
Yeah, he's
Got that?
And I believe it's just Sam's signature, isn't it?
Yes,
I believe it is, yeah.
it is.
So there's on the
Yep.
front
Talked about
page,
it.
there's a line and a date, and then there, on the third page, there was a tab that you have to sign.
My tab come off, does it mean I put tab back on? I don't know.
Sign and print.
Sign it.
I need a motion for this too, to sign the agreement between Owen County President, unfortunately, that's me, and the ERS wireless agreement for the tornado sirens. I make a motion, the President signs it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Sheila, you'll have to show me where to do that here in just a minute, okay? Sorry. Moving right on here, I told everybody we're gonna be here at 8 o'clock, because if we are, somebody owes me a dinner. So hold your comments to the February 6th meeting.
Oh, no, I need all the comments. Think of something, I need some comments.
These ordinances, has county attorney looked at these ordinances?
Yes.
And you agree with these ordinances, sir?
Yes.
Ordinance, Sheila, now you're gonna help me here. Ordinance number 2025-001, is that correct, Sheila? You looked at that, sir?
This is the ordinance. Is it that the ordinance or the resolution?
That's
This
the
is the
ordinance.
ordinance that actually the council will sign.
Praise God. Here,
But you skipped over the treasurer's.
I didn't know she was here
The
yet.
Board of Finance is going to.
I didn't see her.
That goes with that, with them to sign.
is the treasurer here?
They have to adjourn this meeting and then.
Yeah, we have to close this meeting.
Yeah, well, you're just gonna have to wait, hon, I'm sorry, so. So do we need to hold this
We
then?
need to hold that until.
Sorry, council. We also have a resolution for the sheriff's office, Matt, to dispose of surplus property. We discussed this at our first meeting. I believe you had, how many vehicles, Matt? 5 vehicles? And they're gonna be disposed by online auction. It's resolution number 225001. Man, this is too much for me. I'm hiring, I said this in my first meeting, I'm hiring the secretary to do my paperwork. I'm paying for it myself out of my own pocket. I've got a stack of paperwork this deep in 2 weeks. Anton, how do you do it?
I scan it.
Last question I asked from you, so, I make a motion to sign the resolution, the commission sign the resolution, to dispose of surplus property owned by the Owen County Sheriff's Office, and the vehicles to be sold online. Is that correct, Matt?
Yes, sir. Other than the commissioners, we don't.
Well, commissioners own them, you drive them. I'll make a motion that, we sell, have them sold online.
I'll second your motion to sign the resolution.
All in favor?
Aye.
Gary, you line me out there, will you, buddy?
I'll try to help.
Yeah, no, you can, will you? I lost my little green tab, that's my problem. What's this one? Don't worry about this one? Praise God. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. I'm gonna get my steak dinner.
I need some questions out here in a hurry.
No, don't you start. Okay, auditor's comments.
Department heads, elected officials.
Yeah, well, I'll get to them. Don't stay in order, people, so yeah. Department heads, elected officials, you got any comments? Yes, let her rip. Young lady, ladies go first.
I do want to go first. And I'm very sorry, and I'm trying to be very quick.
You got 1.5 minutes.
It's gonna
No.
take me way longer than that,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's all right.
Two things have come to my attention this week that I need help with. Dispatch has a recording system, records all the phone lines and all the radio traffic. When the building was built, there was a 4-year contract signed for a service agreement. That contract ends next Thursday.
Hallelujah.
We have to have the recording system. I believe it's state law that we record the phone calls and the traffic. I believe. They sent me a quote to do it for another year, $10,216.
Is that an increase over the previous year?
Is that in the budget?
Well, then, it was originally, the original 4-year contract was for $28,000
And for, how much is this contract? For 1 year?
for 1 year. They
Get
did,
snookered again, ain't we?
they did send me some other quotes. I had a meeting with these people today that I thought was a training meeting. Apparently it was a, your contract's up, we need to talk about things meeting.
Can I interrupt you just real quick? So they had a meeting with you today to discuss this, and they're telling us that our contract's over next Thursday.
Yes.
Shame on them.
Yes.
And that's rude behavior.
Don't know how long,
I don't know if anybody
how long
else is
anyone's
aware.
known this.
I'm telling you, I found out last week.
Did you get any information from the previous 911 director about this contract?
The day that these people called me and told me, she said, oh yeah, that's up, we need to do that. They gave me some other multi-year options this afternoon when I was on the conference call with them. They emailed me some quotes, I haven't had a chance to look at them yet because it was after I was already here. However, a new 4-year contract, the estimate he gave me on the phone was $29,719 up front, and that would save $11,000 and some change throughout the agreement. Like I said, I don't have the quotes on me right this moment. I got them after I got here.
So,
I think that's the way we go.
well, I don't agree with, I don't think we should be, I don't think they should do us like that, you know, meet with you today and tell us the contract's over next Thursday.
I don't think they did, that's the problem. I think notification was made, the contract was expiring, but it wasn't handled.
So somebody got the information.
Lisa just found out about
I just found out about it last
it.
Thursday.
So notice of the contract expiring would have been known by somebody for a while, whether it was, I mean, obviously Kathleen would have been director when this was signed or implemented. She left, that information should have been passed along and known that, hey, in 4 years we need a budget to renew this contract, but that wasn't done. So Lisa's just kind of, it fell into her lap as she's now.
Yeah, no fault, I'm not blaming you for
I'm the lucky winner.
Now, her budget did increase in contract services by $10,000 for this year, from the year prior. I think that was earmarked for, what's that called?
Total response.
Total response, for the, pre-arrival and,
It's for the questions that they're gonna ask, the dispatchers are gonna ask to get better information for the responders, and then the pre-arrival instructions.
it's something we discussed in
The
recent.
$50,000
Yes.
issue is what that program is.
So we were talking earlier about this to try to figure out where this money would come from. If it was to be the 1-year agreement for the, 10,000 whatever dollars it is. Or sorry, yeah, the 10,000, whatever.
They also told me on this,
Oh, you're good.
after Matt and I talked today and I had this meeting with them, they also told me that the software is pretty much near the end of its life. And that we're gonna have to do an update, probably sometime this summer. Not sure how much that's gonna cost.
Well, imagine that.
Correct.
The problem with this is like she said, this contract ends and, I don't know if this is a maintenance-only agreement or if the software that's used to operate the hardware, the recording equipment will cease to work or not. We don't know that, but we have to have this stuff recorded.
Well, but, and I agree with what you're saying, is that something we need to find out though, Matt?
Yeah, I mean.
Before we sign something, I mean.
Again, if it's just a maintenance agreement, and the equipment still works, then you're kind of in a, hey, we're rolling the dice situation, hopefully nothing goes wrong, until we figure it out.
But it's almost like they got us in a jam here. They're telling us,
Well,
okay,
everything public service related, some vendors got you in a jam.
I understand. I mean,
And they can,
how many other vendors do we got out there that can do that job?
oh, I don't know.
By next Thursday? Probably not.
I know, but
What's the name of this company?
they got us in a jam here.
Word Systems Inc.
WSI, he's got the copy here. There was equipment or serial numbers on a couple of the line items. Is that the equipment that you're paying for?
That's the
part of
equipment, to my
this?
understanding, that's covered.
Did anybody else meet with you when you met with these people? Was you by yourself? Or did any advisory board meet with you or listen to
I
any of
was by
that?
myself today.
Anybody got any ideas?
Chris, is that something that could be in Terry's wheelhouse, that he would know another contractor is? I doubt it.
That's more in the software industry side of this, and it does take backup and records everything.
Anton, where did you previously pay that $20,000?
I don't recall exactly where it would have been paid for originally, but in this situation, I would recommend that we just use cash from the fund to pay for it. We can do an appropriation. I would not do the 1 year, that's a waste of money. The 4 years, your better deal, there's not a much different cost, they're already in place, there's only one choice here. Got to do another 4-year contract. And we can get the money to cover it through the 911 money. It's just,
They got money through the
it's
state,
there.
911 state fund.
Just
There's
do
money
it.
there, yeah.
Well, I just don't like the fact of how
Yeah.
they've done us. I don't like that
True.
at all.
But then
Point taken.
again, with that being said, if somebody knew about this and didn't inform us, here we get snookered again by, and I'm not gonna.
I mean, this should have been something that was budgeted during budget.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every year. This should have been brought up during budget hearings this year, especially that the contract was gonna be up. It wasn't brought up. Lisa didn't know about it, she got it thrown in her.
And then if we're gonna need software updates, we need to be getting quotes on what that's gonna cost, so we can be looking at that here real soon too.
And I would be,
Don't have been trouble,
just
you
in
see.
scanning through this, I can't see how a software update wouldn't be part of the contract agreement.
But that's something, Lisa, you'll need to find out, you need to call these people tomorrow and find out if the software update is part of this, or are we looking at another?
And that might be in the quotes that he emailed me earlier today. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to look at those. Because I did talk to them about, okay, well, wait, because what kind of money am I looking at for that?
And this right here is a perfect example of everybody, the public, department heads, anybody else, a lack of communication. People not willing to talk to people about what's going on in this county is what's cost this county hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, just because of lack of communication. I guess Anton, we don't have much of a choice. We're behind the 8 ball here, so.
Before you guys make a decision on that, I'm gonna go ahead and poke the bear a little bit more.
No, please don't.
I'm sorry, I'm real sorry.
Go ahead.
I got an invoice this morning dated August 31st, 2024 from a company called InDigital, which is the network services for our 911 lines. The contract is from September of 2024 to September of 2025.
And they just now sent you an invoice?
I just now got an invoice. It is dated, and I've got it right here. I have an email form, I can send it to anybody. It's another $10,431.
Shut it down.
Now that's,
We're closed.
I cannot pay it, and we cannot have 911 phones.
Yeah, but that contract is good from when to when?
September of '24 to September of '25. Now, I will say,
So we don't have to pay it now.
we've had it since September, and they haven't turned us off yet.
I'm not 100% sure, I'm looking at her budget from last year, that's not, that hasn't been budgeted for.
Yeah, that's.
And maybe we should check to make sure it hasn't been
So,
paid either.
It's been paid in years prior from the,
That's not a surprise.
from their, contract services line, so I think.
It's been paid every year prior. I can't find anywhere where it was paid in the fall.
So since council's here, they could make a motion to allow her to do transfers and encumber whatever fund she currently has to go to both of these expenses.
Yeah, because she still has time to encumber some money from 2024.
Sounds like we need to do that.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion that the council allow for that.
Got a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Can we add same series and, because it might not all be in the same series, I'm pretty sure there was money left in like the wages line items and those, so we can get everything into the equipment line item or the other services line items. And allow whatever transfers, we'll provide them to you at the next meeting, and then do an encumbrance that will allow the whole process.
Yeah, because we need to include that software update that we still don't know about.
Yeah, if we can find out about that tomorrow, call about that tomorrow and find out what that software update's gonna be. And if we
I
have,
will look at that email first thing in the
We need to
morning.
make sure
we
that
can cover the
covers
money
that.
for that as well, if need be.
And I can honestly send the quotes to all of you. I can email it to all of you.
I wish you would, so everybody on the table here knows
I
about this.
absolutely can do that. That's not a big deal at all. Sheila will let you on it too.
And on top of paying that WSI bill, it is a new contract, so that would need to be signed for the next 4 years.
So on
You get-
that
you got a
motion,
You got a vote to take.
Do you have a copy of that, Tony?
pardon?
No, because this one is.
Yes, well, all those in favor?
Do you have
Yes.
one there for 4?
Where
Would you
did,
give that to?
oh, okay. 6-0.
Will you read what this says,
Nick's
Matt?
gone.
What's it say on top there? It's a contract for, what's it called?
Technical services agreement.
Well, I don't think not that I don't agree with it, but we don't have any choice because we gotta record the phone stuff, but,
Lisa, are you receiving these like through the mail or through email?
Through email.
So they're reaching out to you now, but previously they'd been to our previous 911 director? Is that email account still active where it could be accessed to see what you don't know?
It should be, have kept from,
You'd have to check with,
did anybody call and have it? If not, then it can be given to the commissioners or Lisa to go back and.
Because you don't know what other invoices are out there that have been sent to them that.
that's another issue in itself.
So somebody needs to contact Fourth Phase and have the emails forwarded to
to Lisa.
123.
I would send it to Lisa.
Lisa already has the emails forwarded to her.
Okay, then we're good.
I don't know that email is active, so if a vendor tries to email Sherry, it may just say it's no longer a valid email. She has access to what was there, not what was deleted or anything else. I will say I did talk to someone from WSI the other day, and all 3 contacts they had for WSI were no longer an employee of the county, so in that moment, I had them to go ahead and add me from the 911 board and to copy Sheila on invoices until we get something permanent established, and obviously you guys can be copied on that as well.
You need to make sure you're reaching out to all your vendors and making sure that they have the new email.
It's been a big part of the day trying to go through different things.
And please
find
keep
out who all the vendors are.
please keep the advisory board up to date on all the stuff that's going on so they can look into this, so they have the knowledge of what's happening as well till we get a little further down the line. So where's the contract at? I mean, we don't have.
That's a year, that one there's for a year, that's.
Yeah, we only have the
acceptable.
12-month one right now.
Well, we're not gonna accept
And
the
you're
12.
not gonna sign that 12-month one right now.
Oh, I thought
We
Matt
have
said you had
that
it
until
for
next
you.
Thursday. We have until next Thursday for that.
But we don't have a meeting.
Right.
we don't have any meetings coming up next week. So you need to contact these people here. And our next meeting is February 6th. Contact them tomorrow and see if they'll allow us 30 days or 30 days continuance on this, so we can, or 90-day continue, or 60 day, whatever we can get, the longest we can get, so we can dig into it just a little bit. And if they say no, we have to do something by next Thursday, then I guess we'll have to call a special meeting. But we're not doing a year contract.
They were very pleasant today when I talked to them, and I told them, this is county government, things have to happen in a certain way, and it's not an overnight thing. And they said, we're fully aware of how that works.
I believe the attorney's got something to say.
No, I don't.
Oh, sir, please.
What was the name of this company? WSI?
WSI.
Word Systems Incorporated.
You think we need to get an extension?
That would be the best way. Well, look, why don't you and I talk to them?
Okay.
Why don't you give me a call?
Yeah, call in and see what the attorney says, and we'll proceed from there. But let all of us know what your findings are when you talk to these people, if they're gonna give you an extension. Let the advisory board know as well too, so we'll know how to proceed. You got any more bad news?
That is all the
Matt,
news I have.
Do you know of any other company that does that? Have you dealt with them before?
I'm sure there's a lot of companies, but I don't.
But if we get an extension on this, because I don't like getting slapped in the face, oh, here, by the way, no, I'm gonna table it until I understand it. So I would like to get other companies out there to give me some bids on this, instead of just saying, well, here's a 4-year contract, sign it.
In a perfect world, had this been something that, hey, in 6 months this contract is expiring, now would be the time to start looking to see if we can find something better or less costly, whatever we want to look at, that would have been great. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and we're now in a time crunch, and we don't know. I have no idea if this is one of those systems that they're using proprietary equipment that another software won't work with. We've been hosed, by vendors in the past with that happening. So, yeah, there's a few things that would have to be looked at, but, I can tell you over the years, we have had different, radio and phone recorder companies. I mean, as recently as prior to the new dispatch center being built, and this contract of 4 years being signed, we have different vendors for that, so I know there's other options.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let us know how long.
I have no idea with the company. I've never heard in the last 4 years of any issues with our recording equipment. Seems like they've been good. I'm not faulting them. I'm not faulting Lisa. The information didn't get where it needed to go. For what reason, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, we can't, yeah, I understand, so. Okay, reach out tomorrow, Lisa. Yeah, Pat, you got something on that?
Hang on, I got one here.
All right, go ahead.
It's after 8.
Yeah, I know. So much medium rare, brother, medium rare. Thank you.
Sorry, Mike, just sitting back here listening to this conversation, in all fairness to the vendor, it sounds like that maybe they have notified somebody prior to this and saying that, in X amount of time, your contract is up. And today they're saying basically, hey, your contract's coming up. So can she reach out to them and have them, and ask them, if you have notified somebody, would you send me that email? So that they at least have,
a copy of
because
it.
they may be in the blind too.
And that's kind of what Joe was saying, trying to find the email trail from this company to the former 911 director, so Lisa, you can ask that question tomorrow, yes? Somebody, oh, hi.
Well, I can tell you, I've had issues with getting emails that all of a sudden won't come through. They say they send them to me, and all of a sudden, I don't get them. I contact our IT. They tell me to contact the person I'm not getting them from, which I don't know because I'm not getting them. to have their IT people contact our IT.
I have an answer for you. Please come to the February 6th meeting, because this will be addressed.
I had to actually give, and this is the only time I've ever done it, had to give my personal email to get it because of the deadline for the election.
Hey, that's unacceptable.
Very unacceptable, but they were doing their part. The problem was here, we all of a sudden can't get them anymore.
That's why, and
And I'm not an IT person, and it shouldn't be my responsibility. And if, I don't know what else is out there that I haven't gotten.
I agree with what you're saying. I've heard this a lot. So please come to the February 6th meeting, and I will address this firsthand. And I suggest all department heads show up as well. Yes, sir, back there.
Yeah, I don't know whether we're doing public comment, but I'm.
You just go right ahead, sir, jump right on in.
Jeff Marks. Oh, yeah, you did. So, we've had a lot of conversation about communication. Sitting out here in the audience, as I've been doing many times over the past 6 or 7 years, I've noticed that the amount of money in out-of-cycle claims has grown substantially. 100,000, 200,000. The last 3 or 4 meetings of 2024 was $500,000. Okay? Now, we had a nice conversation this evening about that's going to stop. I'll tell you what, why don't you give the people who are not turning these claims in on time 2 strikes, and on the 3rd strike, you announce their names in these meetings.
Well, sir, I mean, you also got to understand that there's also problems with the contractor giving us that in a timely manner, okay?
Announce the contractor's name. I don't.
Okay, I understand.
Talk about communication, and yet we
Right.
hide it all the time.
Well, I'm gonna tell you from here on out, is for me, out-of-cycle claims is not acceptable, okay? Because that's put Sheila into a point, and this young lady here she's backed up in the corner and people are beating her up, and that's gonna stop.
And also, I'll shut up after this one, because I'm out of my 3 minutes. There needs to be performance expectations of the department heads and the elected officials.
I agree.
Not just, is your budget in, that's the minimum acceptable. Is your budget in line? Are you performing with the dollars you've been given? Do you have expectations? Does the public have expectations? How many calls, how many misassessments have occurred in Q4 of 2024? Do we have any understanding of that number? How many calls go into the highway department in a given month? How many things are dispatched in a given month? How many calls go into 911 in a given month? How many times do we go on a sheriff's run in a given month? The people in this county are trusting, but as we've said before, trust but verify. Verify means you're going to give us the data in addition to the fact you just tell us, trust us. Thank you.
And you used to do this.
Yeah, I mean, the data is out there, you know what I'm saying, and it can be delivered to anybody. The lack of communication, I agree with you 100%, has been, but you know, yesterday's yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'm not going back to yesterday, but we made the statement at our first meeting, out-of-cycle claims not going to be tolerated, other than utilities, visa, an emergency situation. We had no out-of-cycle claims this time, other than the utilities and visa, and that's where it's going to stay. Contractors need to understand they need to turn in their claims on a proper time. If they got a job done, turn it in. Claims are paid twice a month. And claims need to be paid by the department heads. Department heads need to turn the claims in and get them paid. It's not fair to the contractors not being paid, or the public not, you know, if you look like you got a cash balance up here, but you're holding $50,000 worth of claims, you're not fooling nobody. See what I'm saying? So things are going to change, and they are changing already. So, and I appreciate your comment. Did you have another comment?
I did. You know, I've had claims this past year that I had to wait until, like, on our grant, we had to spend it all. I could only turn it in one time. So when I started buying things at the beginning of the year and had all the invoices, I couldn't turn it in until December when I spent my money.
Well, it's different for everything. Everything's different. But what we're talking about is people getting claims and not turning them in.
Right, right. But if you saw
Yeah.
that, you would see an invoice
Yeah.
dated for
Sure.
another day, but that's why, like, mine would be that way. Other than that, you're
Right.
not gonna see that from me.
And like Dave said, some contractors, they may fill out their invoice and their billing, but they may not send it for a month and a half.
If they want paid, they get it here on time.
Absolutely. So the contractors are just as responsible for getting their claims in as the department heads is getting the claims paid.
Right,
It's gotta go hand in hand, so,
right.
There's no excuse to hold claims.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's sitting on their desk and they don't bring it to Sheila, well, then they're gonna get questioned,
Yeah.
because it's unacceptable. Okay?
And grants are different. We have a lot of grants in the county
Yeah.
that are reimbursable, that it comes that way, and those are explainable. I do want to jump back to the email things real quick. State Board of Accounts was here yesterday, their last day here. One of the last things that she informed Sam and I of.
Had a big meeting.
We are literally gonna get written up because of the email issue, because they sent multiple issues over the last 3.5 months. No responses, they didn't get here. She's sitting 10 feet away from me, sending them just where we're at with updates. And she informed us yesterday we are going to be written up because of the email issues as well. So, yes, we gotta get the email issue addressed.
Yeah, we had a lengthy meeting with State Board of Accounts, started out for 5 minutes, ended up being an hour and a half. So, the email thing is going to be addressed in its entirety. I might as well just get this out there and open right now for everybody that's concerned. We're gonna address it at the February 6th meeting, but since everybody's here, we're going to set up a department head meeting, including the council, commissioners, all department heads. You're gonna come to a meeting, if you want to, I can't make you come, but you're going to list your problems with IT. You're also going to list your problems with the, what do you call them? The copy machine people. I've talked to the gentleman. If you do not list your problems and bring them to this meeting, shut your mouth.
You don't have a problem then.
You don't have a problem. Because I'm hearing this, and this, 10,000 from this way, 10,000 from this way. Verbal communication doesn't do a whole lot for me. You write down a piece of paper, send your name to it, so you're gonna have a chance to come to a meeting, an open meeting, discuss your problems, so we can help get some resolution to this. If you don't have a problem. Don't call me about it no more. I don't wanna hear it.
Good point.
You have the opportunity to be able to come up there and sit out there in a roundtable discussion after hours. It's not a commissioners meeting, it's just a department head meeting, and I want to know. Fair enough? Everybody agree to that? Some department,
I would say that that will work if it actually gets followed up on, but I can tell you the stuff that I've heard for years is that those kinds of communications happen and nothing responds to it, so.
well, once again, and I appreciate what you're saying, but please drop off yesterday's crap. This is a new day. You got new people sitting here, we got a direction that we're moving forward, and we're going to do it together as a team. If you don't want to be on the team, don't talk to us, don't call us about your problems. The problems are going to get resolved. They're going to be resolved.
We can't do it overnight.
You know, we have wheels in motion, things in place to help facilitate these problems, and they're going to be addressed, and they're going to be looked at. They're not going to be swept under the rug. They're not going to be pushed aside. They're not going to say, well, that's no big deal. That's just somebody complaining. Bring me your problems, and we're going to sit down and have a roundtable discussion about it. We're going to get it resolved. So
What date is that, Sam?
They don't know yet. We'll discuss that February 6th.
Okay.
But then lost out on my dinner, some starved to death. Pat's gonna buy me a cheeseburger from McDonald's. I love you, brother. Thanks, Steve. Greg? Your turn.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Commissioners. Sam, I know you just basically said don't beat a dead horse, but in front of you tonight, I have my community crossing commitment letter, which I informed you about in the last meeting. I asked you for your signature and Sheila to attest to that, so we could get this filed starting tomorrow, commissioners. I've got in my notes that I had to bring up, and I know David is aware, but I'm having all kinds of computer problems. I've had somebody at my office every day, and Chad, correct me, but I believe every day for the last 6 or 7 days, every time we come in, there's an issue. There's days, and we have our own server there, but there's days that I don't have a computer and Chad doesn't have a computer. This is entered online, and we have a very good relationship with the woman that this goes to, so we will be speaking on the telephone with her the whole process. But I'm extremely concerned that a $2 million grant gets to these people like it's supposed to, and whatever is going on with our system, gentlemen, at least at the highway department, and I didn't know it was going on everywhere else, is bad. I know that I've communicated with David about it. He's aware, but example, I will come in anytime after a weekend, gentlemen, and I am used to having, and I think all of my employees are used to having 30 to 50 emails. I come to work and I had one. I don't know what's going on, but we've got to get it solved, because I don't think we're getting our proper information for any reason. I just don't think we're getting our proper information, and the highway department cannot operate.
No department can operate without emails.
Right.
Zero.
But without our system, because all of our reporting is this way now. So, again, not trying to beat a dead horse, but this community crossing grant, we're talking $2 million here, guys.
Absolutely.
And it's got to make it to where it needs to go.
And if I need to deliver it, I will. Personally, myself.
Okay, so again, you said don't beat it.
No, I
You said
understand.
it's taken care of, but I felt like it needed to be brought up.
Well, this is a bigger issue than probably we realize. It's a major issue. And, you know, you can't,
February 6th meeting.
the February 6th meeting,
I do know that Indiana Office of Technology has been involved. That's all I can tell you. I don't run IT, but I do know that they have been involved, and there's been some Microsoft issues, but I'm not making excuses for anybody.
yeah, it's, we will not continue this route. Now, we got a little bit of time, we're gonna have to continue for a little bit. My suggestion to anybody here, if you have a way to back up your stuff someplace else, better get it backed up. I'm just telling you right now. If you have a way to back up your stuff, you better start backing it up like yesterday. So Greg, you got in front of me here, you have the Community Crossing Matching Grant Fund, the financial commitment letter to Owen County. The letter confirms Owen County financial commitment for our Community Crossing Grant application. Owen County Council has approved for the budget calendar year 2025 funding from an approved source to provide the local match for the projects being proposed. The local share of the cost for call ID 2025 number 01 For Owen County, an amount of $500,000 has been appropriated in lead edit fund 1112-41110.00. I think I missed a zero, but an additional $9,000 from the local road and street fund 1169-00900 will also be appropriated to cover the project cost. I make a motion that we signed the commitment letter to the cross-matching grant fund.
I say.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, council, for that commitment.
I would ask, I'm sorry, while I'm just sitting here, my brain burn up. I suggested all department heads and stuff show up to the February 6th meeting. It's just a suggestion. I can't make each come. Please try to be here. Council, any council members that can show would be greatly appreciated too. Go ahead, Greg.
Next, I would ask that the commissioners, I've spoken with David. I've also spoken with Anton, allow the highway department to put its Facebook page back up using the same parameters, and I've only spoken briefly with Matt Miller, but using the same parameters that the sheriff's department uses.
Well, that's public information right there. That's how you can share it in the public. I've been told several times by the public, hey, what's up with the Facebook page? I can't contact him. I can't talk, blah, blah, blah. It needs to be brought back.
Are we using it for information only, or are we using it to respond as well?
No, we are not. Yeah, good question. Information, I'm not a social media person. Everybody knows I don't Facebook, none of that stuff. It's just not my nature. But I know social media is a way to get knowledge out there and education. The people need to know where the roads are gonna be closed at, what the county highway's doing, such and such. And Anton, chime in, please, because you're the Facebook guru of the county.
I think it'd be good for information, because people are wanting to know the information.
And I support that.
The problem that I've seen, and this is going to come to an end, please come to the February 6th meeting. We'll have refreshments and it'll be a long day.
You think?
Put your information out there to the public. All departments need to put their information out to the public. Webpage, Facebook, whatever it's gonna be. But don't be commenting back to the public and bad-mouthing people for what they're posting on the page. I will say this. If you're an appointed person and you comment back to the public, you're gonna have a serious problem. It's informational. People are gonna say what they wanna say. Let them say what they wanna say. If it's out there, they'll know which department to call, who to get in contact with, but provide the information to the public so the public knows what the county is doing. I'm all for it, even though I don't understand Facebook. And Anton, do you have some comments on this? Because you, like I say, you know it inside and out.
Yeah, I would just be very careful. You've got to, it's public record, so you can't delete comments, you can't ban people. There has to be a very careful standard of care, if you will, when you're managing a page. You don't have to respond to anything. There's no rule that you have to. I would also suggest that if it's not something you want the public to rely upon for getting a response, then you should activate the automatic response through the messenger saying, thank you for reaching us. This is not monitored regularly. If you want immediate attention or this is an emergency, call our office during the business hour, something along those lines. And if you want that, I can program that in for their page. But I would suggest that you have something identifying that instead of just an open-ended, someone sends a message, they're expecting a response, and then they never hear from anyone. There's got to be something there that tells them that. That would be my suggestions if you're going to reactivate
Do you know how to
the
go
highway page. But
Yeah, actually, I worked with Anton when we
yeah,
put the page together. He's the one that helped, actually.
So we could
get
just
us
put
out
office
and get
hours
us-
are from
and get us
7:30 to 3:30.
Right.
that type of
published.
thing.
So,
I believe the county attorney's got,
One thing you might want to consider, and I would suggest you think about this countywide,
is not allowing members of the public to post on Facebook, on your Facebook page. In other words, you can post things, but the public cannot. I will suggest to you that that is what I recommend to a lot of clients, a lot of public clients, and it tends to work really well. And it eliminates a lot of issues.
Just information, that's all we want.
That's right.
We want information. If we got a road shut down somewhere, somebody
right.
can get on there and say, okay, Mangus Road shut down today.
Right, you push information out,
Right.
but don't let them push information in.
And I think that's a problem we've had in the past, so.
Is that something we need to draft up?
Yeah, if that's something you,
Just do it.
tell us what you want.
They just said,
You'd be better off making a policy that each Owen County official that uses the Facebook has to oblige by a certain set of rules. And
Right.
that includes all comments are shut off on your pages. And then if that's faulted,
Yeah.
you have something.
And that's gonna have to
You'd have
be-
to have, you'd have directional.
Yeah, and that's obviously within the
As a
departments they
personnel
manage. I'm not shutting comments off mine, but each individual elected official is responsible for maintaining their own. But if you've got a department that's under your guidance and management, you have to set the policies.
Then
I mean,
we'll-
something consistent.
We'll refer to the attorney to get that
Yeah.
drafted up, and as soon as he gets that done, then we'll get that installed. Now, please help me out here, Sheila, and all the powers to be. We have a web page, correct? We have a county webpage. Now, it's my understanding, now, please correct me, because I'm dumb as a stump sometimes, that a lot of stuff gets directed through the building department to get posted on the webpage. It is my understanding that every department head has the access or has the means to post stuff on the webpage from their own department.
There was a seminar put together for the department heads, and I'm going back when Patty Stewart was here, that taught everybody how to do
I've
that.
asked recently, I asked when I was treasurer, she wasn't here, I've asked when I'm clerk.
We own that website, so there's no reason that we can't. So nobody's called me about this.
I went through IT.
You should have called me, because I can make sure that that gets set up. Susan can take care of that.
Then, and the
We were
reason,
all instructed that we were to give her the information to post.
I think it's
at
because
that
she was the only
time.
one at the time that knew how to do it, yeah.
And then we have, in the last few days, there's a few of us that have gotten a hold of them. One of them was in our office yesterday with Beth and give her access to it. At that time, he also informed us that our county webpage is not ADA compliant, and we're paying $100 a month for a webpage that is supposed to become ADA compliant this year. Thus was suggested the IoT.in.gov that is compliant. So that's something that needs to be looked into pretty quick, and if we're paying for something that isn't, then
They just now brought that up.
that's what we were informed
Wow.
to do. And yesterday, when he set Beth up or give her access to it, we were informed he didn't know how to tell her to do it, that we would still need to reach out to Susan or someone else that's already
Yeah,
doing
a guy
it
by
to
the name
learn
of-
how to do it.
A guy by the name of Raleigh set that webpage up at no charge to the county. But they had access to set up that Wix.com, I think it is, that does the editing.
He had said we were paying $100 a month for it currently as is, which is about the same amount or comparable to what the state's IoT is.
Have you seen a bill on that anywhere?
Unless it's just in a
'Cause I haven't.
generalization, but again,
Have you seen
that's
any
what was
bills on that,
related.
Sam?
so once again, that is another issue that we're going to deal with in February 6th meeting. I know everybody's, God, February 6th, yeah, plan state wall. But those issues have to be dealt with, and they're gonna be dealt with in February, because guess what? We're not going into March with these issues. Take it to the bank. Not gonna happen. We cannot continue to run county government business like this. It's not the way it's intended to do. And we're not gonna do it. We need to correct the things, but we can only do it by working together, working with the department heads, and getting advice from the people in the public that's got some good advice for us. So things are gonna change, but they're gonna change for the better. And it takes a little bit of time to make some changes. You know, I've had the county attorney for 2 weeks now, and
Maybe 2 weeks more.
maybe two, yeah, yes. Got to sign his agreement tonight too, but he's been inundated, I mean, just by me. I've had him working on something that is very important for this county, and he's done due diligence, but now he's got another 2 or 3 other things added to his plate. So I ask people to be respectful of him and his time. We get what we pay for, and we're gonna have to pay for it, but once we pay for it, it's gonna be resolved. And it's gonna be a thumbs up for the county. Greg, go ahead, I'm sorry, I just keep interrupting.
That's all right.
I'm already started, so.
Just need to report that the bridge on Class Road has been completed. United Consulting, our inspection firm, has been contacted, and they'll do the original inspection here very soon on the bridge. As part of our fuel bid for the year, the former commissioners agreed for me to put in a fuel system, basically the same that the EMS and the sheriff's office uses. Gentlemen, that was installed on Thursday, so it's up and running. It tracks everything regarding fuel, vehicles, people.
And they put in their PIN number and all that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Does it identify the driver, does it identify the vehicle?
Both.
But here, good, thank you.
And then it also has a different identification for transfer tanks and that kind of thing. That has all been put in.
Awesome, awesome.
This is kind of one of those, highway superintendents beat the dead horse, but I've asked this even back during Jim Bryant, and I think Gary can confirm. We have many roadways that go to DNR properties, and there's a way that we could request that those roads get paved. Gentlemen, that's not a request that comes from me. That's a request that comes from you. So I again would ask, and Gary can confirm, I've asked numerous times that we assess those roads and make those requests out of, or have our attorney make those requests out of DNR.
It's through the state. We ran into this with North Cataract Road for years.
That's a beauty one.
Yeah. We've had individuals say that the state says that, it's their responsibility to take care of that road. We've had people say, no, it's our responsibility. We chip and sealed over that road long before my time. But anything going to a state park, state forest, cataract, whatever.
That is correct, but that request has to be made from the board, and I had worked with, I know it's been a while, but with Jim, and he said it was something that
We got up to Crawfordsville,
he would
NDOT,
but
and that's as far as we ever got with it.
I am just
Nobody gave us
making
an
that
answer.
request again, because gentlemen, it would be something that we don't have to pay for, it would come out of their funds, and I know it occurs. It's been done here before because it was done with North Cataract Road, but that doesn't come from within the highway department, that comes from this board.
Do we have a list of them roads?
I can have that for you at the next meeting. I've given it many times, but I'll have it
February
for you
6th.
February 6th. I'll get it emailed to you before February 6th.
Yeah, okay.
That road up there was done back in Mitch Daniels'
then-
time. That's how far gone back.
Done a while back.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I don't know if you're aware, but there was a bridge on State Road 43 that was scheduled to be closed for a 90-day period of time, and that project ended up going over a year. We worked diligently with NDOT to have that road improved. That road had just been done, community crossings money, and gentlemen, it was beat to death. We have received notification that Milestone has been awarded that road to be resurfaced from one end to the other.
That
We'll need to
took a
stay
lot of
on-
work. Little Flock Road, correct?
Little Flock Road. We will need to stay on top of that. That being said, we had another NDOT closure, and I am putting together request via NDOT in regard to Lingle Road at this time.
Which road was that, Greg?
Lingle.
So,
Well, they had 67 closed here at the bridge.
Do we know when they're tentatively going to try to pave Little Flock? Do they have a schedule?
I don't have the schedule yet, but I expect it soon.
Is there stuff we need to do down there, Greg, as far as ditching or culverts or anything like that we need to do before they go back and start their paving? Is there anything that we need to double check to make sure that we haven't?
Yes, there is one location, gentlemen, where we had to get some folks in from Indiana University at the time because, quite honestly, it was a situation I didn't quite know how to handle. Ends up there was a cave under a section of that roadway, and the roadway gave way. We had to fix that back in a certain manner. That was done, so we need to readdress that prior to.
If there's anything we need to do before they get here to pave down there, anything at all, let's take care of that.
Then, lastly, gentlemen, and I know Sam at one time spoke to me, Gary has, and the former board, I haven't spoke with David about this one yet, but I have to put a plan together for work for the next year. One thing the last board did, gentlemen, was agree to allow the highway department to do work on Rocky Hill Road to prep it, because I believe that's almost a 2-year project. We have been out to assess, that it might be time if we can have a work session, but I believe there is an intersection there that causes enough drainage issue that we would need to include at least a section of Clark Road. But gentlemen, I've never been a proponent of paving half a road, so it's something I would like, if we're gonna make that plan, I would like for it to be included. So if there's any way we could have a sit down to discuss those, the sooner the better.
I'm glad you brought that up because it was on my list to talk to you about tonight. Rocky Hill Road is an absolute disaster.
It is.
From where it leaves off up here at the town all the way to the highway.
Yep.
And I am no construction engineer by no means, but there's part of that road that needs to be dug up with a D9 dozer or an excavator.
I think it took us 30 minutes to take a fire truck down there last week.
It's under water most of the time.
West Coon Path is pretty nice though.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, paved in its entirety, thank you.
We have busted 4 rims on our vehicle.
Yeah.
On Rocky Hill Road.
And that's just tip. What I'd like to see us do is all 3 of us and you and anybody else who wants to go along, I want to go to Rocky Hill Road. Take a day, take 2 days, I don't care how long it takes, and go through it from one end to the other, address the situation, culverts, ditches, trees. And like I said, I've been up there, and there's some of that road up there that's gonna have to be completely excavated up.
That's the reason I asked for it to be a 2-year project. I agree. I think that the section of that road needs to be a full depth reclamation.
It'll take every dime of budget money to deal with that road, or every dime of community crossings, one or the other.
It will, it's gonna take a huge sum of money, but you know what, if we do it right and do it right the first time, ditching, culverts, cutting trees and stuff like that from one end to the other, it'd be a nice road, but right now, a team of mules don't want him going down the road.
Are you gonna enlist the help of Aqua,
Yes,
the company that's destroyed
Yeah,
the
they're,
other half of that?
They've been willing to over the years, yeah.
and being willing to, and I appreciate they're willing to, but good intentions are no good unless you fulfill your intentions.
We've never came up with a plan to present to them.
Yeah. So we're gonna have a plan for them, because they're gonna have to be responsible for some of the money to give to us to help fund this project, because this project's gonna cost, it's gonna cost us a ton of money.
It is.
But we can't let it go any longer. I mean, we're not gonna be able to
The
travel.
first part of it, gentlemen, in all honesty, is gonna be a lot of elbow grease.
Yeah,
Just a lot of elbow grease, a lot of equipment work, fuel, and manpower.
and I'm all about when we come to that road, if we need some additional manpower, Greg, you know, I'm about using local contractors. If we need to get local contractors out there to help us get some work done, I'm all for it, because that road's gonna have to be done in its entirety, not half a road, part of a road. When we started,
I agree, gentlemen, I'm not a proponent of half roads, because what happens is, you know, a perfect example, and right now it's in good shape, but is Truesdale Road, and for years, Gary can attest to this, we had the beginning of it done, and then there was the center of it done, and then the beginning of the road got bad, and then the end of the road was horrible. Well, now it's done all the way through, so if we could give a road its due attention, that is just my philosophy, and I know that can't always be done, but in springtime, I know we've got community crossing roads to Brett, but we need to get started on, if Rocky Hill is where we're going, we need to get started.
it's on my list.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, that's all I have, except I was notified by BOMAC. The dump truck is in. There was a trade made for this dump truck in '24. They have picked up R3 trucks. He called me and told me the truck was in. I explained to them the way it was going to work with the claim cycle. The vendor didn't seem, in fact, he told me he wasn't going to deliver the truck until he had a check, and I told him today that he had my trucks, and I expected a truck delivered. And as long as you all approve for me to proceed, then we will have a truck sitting there tomorrow.
I got a couple questions.
Sure.
Yeah, I know the vendor's not happy. I know that for a fact, but I'm not happy with him either. Now, we traded 3 trucks for
Correct.
a truck.
3,
3.
and they're on the invoice.
And that's not a CDL truck.
It is not.
Good.
But we still owe him the $97,000 or $98,000, I guess, for this truck, whatever it is, give or take.
That is correct, $97,119.57.
Okay, so here's where I'm just a tad bit confused, and it don't take a whole lot to confuse me. Maybe the council can help me with this, because I'm probably wrong. When it started out, to trade this 3 trucks for his $97,000 truck or whatever it was, it's my understanding that the money was coming from the leftover community crossing grant money from Lead Edit Fund. Am I saying it right? No, Sheila? Am I on, okay, where was the money coming?
I think I think I could probably explain that better. When it was first presented, we have been leasing trucks for the last several. So when it was first presented, I presented it as I would have a normal, a lease truck, and then, it was, there was some money left over out of, some insurances. There was some overage with, the lit edit, and I believe that that's how we intended to pay for the truck at that point.
It was community crossings and extra insurance money.
Now,
That's what Sheila and I come up with.
What I can tell you is, then I talked to Sheila, I believe the former board voted to give, not believe, I mean, she confirmed that the former board voted to give the leftover edit money back to the council for the radio project. So there is no money there.
Okay, and I get confused with all the funds and stuff, and maybe Anton or some of the council can help me here. So then, if that wasn't the case, how was we supposed to pay for this truck? And the next question would be, is we owe this vendor $97,000 or $98,000 for a truck. They got our trucks.
Correct.
Now, they got our stuff, but we ain't got, we don't have our stuff.
You're correct.
But they got our stuff.
Yes.
I don't understand how come they got our stuff and we ain't got our stuff. I'm a little confused about that. But I guess my point to it of it is I went and got our stuff, but guess what? Our stuff's not there. You know what I'm saying? Our stuff that we sent is gone.
I know that the city.
How are we gonna pay for, I guess.
I know that the city of High Mara bought one.
Where was the money going to pay for this truck from if these funds that we thought we was gonna pay for them out of are not the funds that we're gonna pay for them out of? Where are we gonna pay for this $97,000 truck?
The truck can be paid for out of his vehicle rotation. That was the original plan. Greg said he had the money in his vehicle rotation. Then we tried to, am I correct saying that, Sheila?
Yes, he did say.
And so that was the original plan. So then we tried to figure out, Sheila and I worked together with some numbers and tried to say, well, let's just pay for this thing instead of leasing it. Well, apparently those funds weren't all available.
Because the 51,000 was agreed to, that it was to be returned to the lit edit, which was the difference of the 180,000 originally. So that 51,000 went back into the lit edit.
Okay, so.
Because that was the match. But again, he originally had said that he had money in his 2025 budget, and then trying to figure out.
So it can still be financed through Huntington Bank, which is where the last one comes
Well, it could, but I think what I would rather do is just pay for it out of equipment.
And again, same thing.
It's
with the
budgeted.
911, if he has anything left in his current budget to carry forward, as far as encumbrances, which he's used a lot on little things, but there might still be some areas that there's money left to help go toward it.
That is my question. If we have any money from the 2024 budget that we can encumber to pay for a truck, because I hate to see just crack out $98,000 out of 2025 here in January for a truck. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a lot of money that we're gonna be short at the highway department, and it's January, and we got 11 months to go. That's.
So if you're gonna pay for it, that's the way to do it with encumbrance. If not, you can finance it and lease it like we're doing.
I don't think we need to finance and make another payment.
I agree.
We're payment poor the way it is. I think if we got money for the 2024 budget, if we can look into it to encumber that money to pay for the truck, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
My personal
Well,
opinion.
I think we could do that, but you're gonna have to, take the remainder out of truck rotation or equipment.
I
One or
mean,
the other, and we have that in the budget.
the problem with it is it's kinda too late now because they got our stuff and got rid of our stuff, but we don't have our stuff because we still owe the bill. We gotta pay the bill now, and we kinda got our backs up against the wall. But I think the funding process of it, got a little discombobulated or disoriented because it should have been done already, in my opinion. Should have been handled, paid for, and moved on.
But I think
Out
the
of
thought
2024
was,
money. Well, and then once again, that's where we need to make sure we're all accurate, all on the same page and stuff like that, because thinking we had the money to pay for it, and here we are now. We don't have the truck, we still owe $98,000, and we're trying to figure out where we're gonna pay for it from.
it was gonna be paid through vehicle rotation no matter what. We were just trying
So
to,
the claim can go ahead and be turned in out of the vehicle
Yeah.
rotation, and then whatever monies that he might be able to come up with can go in.
we were just trying to figure out how to pay cash for it and not put that payment on.
That we
That's,
don't need no payment.
now, we've got one coming up because Greg's ordered a new truck for 2025 in that distributor truck.
Yeah, that was done,
And that's coming out of your vehicle rotation as well. That was done in 2023, if I'm not mistaken.
2023, the commissioners
Took
approved the
that long to get
distributor
that
truck.
vehicle.
Okay? Council got any questions on the truck, paying for the truck?
Quit spending money.
What's your question, Paul?
Well, this was never brought before the council. I mean, it was never brought to us. It was,
It was part of his normal budget.
so,
Go ahead, what else, Paul? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, and that's the question, I mean, if it's in the budget to buy a truck, I mean, I don't know that it's any different than anything else. If I need to bring, if it's in the budget, then you still want me to bring it before the council,
no,
I will.
my question was, I mean, we're talking about, okay, where are we gonna pay for this? Where are we gonna pay for this? But, why wasn't that figured out before it was bought? So that's my only issue. Because like I said, we weren't,
It was figured out how he was gonna pay for it. It was gonna be paid for out of his vehicle rotation, and we were going to lease the truck. Then we decided if we could come up with the money, why not pay for it outright so we didn't have a payment? That was the plan.
Then why did we not just have an additional appropriation from cash to cover it? Instead of having the conversation about late in the process now jeopardizing things we've already budgeted for other purposes, and then we're gonna be short, which is not acceptable. So
Yep,
it
but
should have
we
been.
budget for a truck rotation every year.
Right, but this was from '24, and now we're in '25. We have other obligations in '25 that we need the money that we budgeted for to be available. If this now that was delayed is going to take away from those obligations, we're short. There should have been an additional appropriation,
He
bottom
felt that he
line.
could pay for it out of his vehicle rotation in 2025 because the first payment wasn't gonna be until 2025. This was how it was presented to the commissioners from
I
the.
mean, it was taken to the
Yeah, I just think the timing, bad timing. It should have been, there should have been an additional appropriation. If you were either short or needed the difference to buy it, then the request should have been made promptly, come to the council, we consider it, approve it, and then it's done. There is no issue with '25. It's paid for, that's done in '24. That's the normal process. The surprises, we need to eliminate the surprises.
Right, I agree.
And
It's all
eating into
communication.
25. Right.
It's all communication, that's what
So
we
it
got.
Greg-
We were just out of the
Greg
loop
gives you
on
the
it.
lesson
Right.
here.
So,
Ask for additional appropriation.
Well, I'm gonna sit here, gentlemen, and ladies and gentlemen, all of you, and just tell you right now, I went to the commissioners, there is nothing hidden from the highway department, and I feel like that's what's being said here.
No, I'm not saying
And
you-
that did not occur because, Steve, you said we'll quit spending money. I went to the
No.
commissioners.
Yeah, we never said
And
that.
asked the commissioners and presented it to the truck, and presented the truck. So I thought I was doing things correctly. If
Yeah, I think you
if they
did.
need
I
to be
think-
done different,
Yeah.
then I will do them different. I don't think,
And it was presented based on his.
you know, I
his budget.
presented it, but if
I'm not sure you could have done anything different. I think when the decision was made, or the thought, that it needed to be purchased instead of leased, and you needed the money to get that done, that's what's missing. Somewhere along the line, no one came to us to say, hey, we need an additional appropriation to cover the difference. I don't care whose job that was or not, that's not the point. The point is in the process, that's when the ask should have been made. And then we would have gladly considered it and be done with it, you know, but
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
that's all I'm saying.
I'm curious why the past commissioners didn't question this then, and how many more bad decisions are we gonna find from past commissioners?
This was decided because Greg said he had it in his vehicle rotation. He could afford to purchase it.
And that's as far as you went with the question?
He is the department head. He told us he could afford it. We approved it.
Well, if we're just gonna argue, and I'm just gonna step in with both feet, because after that particular meeting where it wasn't determined that that $97,000 was gonna be paid for, Mr. Melton himself made comments to a couple of the people that were in this room that he really didn't need the truck, that he would offer that money up for the radio project. Where's that at in conversation? If we're all gonna sit and point fingers and discuss what is or isn't,
That was a
if you didn't
$53,000 one that you were gonna offer,
no, that
not
was
the
the
truck.
$97,000 truck that he said he really didn't need, is what he related.
I thought it was the $53,000 left over from the community crossings that he was gonna offer us.
It was.
Well,
So that
Well,
was the
first of all, I
question.
don't want to be taken out of context,
Yeah.
and let's just make it straight, because Sheila is correct.
just come right on out with
And
it.
I didn't say, and I mean, I know Gary said it, and I know Sam said it, when I said that, I probably spoke out of context. It wasn't my position as the highway superintendent to do that. It's up to the Board of Commissioners. Both Sam and Gary have said they're not taking a dime from the highway department, said there. So when I said that, I misspoke. That was not my position to say that. End of story. Did I say it? Yeah. But I shouldn't have. Now, as far as the truck, if I didn't think I needed a truck for rotation, I would have never presented a truck for rotation. But it became to a point where, I mean, shoot, Chad, my right-hand man's worked on this radio project all this time. It was a very important thing, and you know what? I thought it was the proper thing to offer up. It wasn't my position to offer up, if that would have been the Board of Commissioners.
No, I remember.
Now, I'm
Yes.
going to say, on this point in time, you know what? There isn't a department head, not a one, that doesn't work for the Board of Commissioners. And if we come to you and we ask for something, and we think that it's figured out, I don't think it's the department head's issues. If you want to, you know, it doesn't lie there. We work for you. Doesn't matter whether it's the former board or this board.
That's right.
If you come to me and you tell me to do something, gentlemen, I work for you and I'm going to do it. And any other department head in here will do the same thing, I believe, because it is their position in their job.
I understand what you're saying, Greg, but if I called you to do a pave a road, pick a road, I don't care. Okay, and you say, yeah, Dave, I can do that. I'll get right on it. I don't know what your budget is, okay? I mean, I can go back and look, but I don't know what you have on hand at the moment. It's up to you to tell me, well, Dave, hey, listen, I cannot complete this project because I don't have X amount of money, and X amount of money is what it's gonna take. So you need to confer that to whoever it may be. We can't afford that.
I understand, and you and I, we've had that conversation.
Right.
And I want you to know that this board of commissioners right here, you're the highway department supervisor. And I'll make it perfectly clear, and I don't care whose feelings I hurt. There's no one commissioner gonna tell you to do anything.
And there's none that has.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, because the lack of communication sometimes gets lost in the weeds, you know what I'm saying? Coulda, woulda, shoulda, and we've had these conversations, and, you know, so, and what you brought to the table is like Anton said, I don't think you could have done any more. It's up to this board to help you with your decisions, you know what I'm saying? If you come to us and say, Board of Commissioners, I need this, or this, or this, and you present us your findings and your facts and stuff like that, it's up to this board as a group to come to your aid and to support you and help you in the way we can. If that means we have to go to the council and ask for an additional appropriation for something, that's the reason we're working together. So I'm not saying you did anything wrong, because it got lost in the weeds between what you wanted to do with the radio tower. I remember that part and stuff, and giving the money back. But it's the Board of the Commissioners that need to help facilitate those decisions for you, to help you and not hinder you. And I think beyond a reasonable doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I'm gonna say it right out, I think you've been handcuffed at many times by being a highway superintendent, Greg. I think you have been handcuffed on more cases than once by being the highway superintendent. That's not good for you. It's not good for the Board of Commissioners, and it is not good for this public, and it's not good for the council. Do you agree with that, sir? Do you agree with that? Yes or no?
Yes.
This particular situation, we were discussing community crossings roads, and all three commissioners were out there discussing this truck. And this truck was to be taken out of his vehicle rotation with a lease. That was what was agreed on.
That is correct.
All three were there at that table that day.
So whatever happened, it happened. Right now, we have to look at what we have left in 2024 to pay for this truck. If we got enough, if don't, we're gonna have to take it out of the vehicle rotation in 2025 to say this don't have to happen anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it won't happen anymore, because it can't. But we're not going, you cannot be handcuffed or stranglehold. I don't know if I'm using the correct
Well,
word.
and I just want to say, if somebody didn't think I would say that about what I had said about the truck, they're absolutely wrong, because I said that. Again, you corrected me. Gary corrected me. It's not my position to say that, so I never should have said it.
Things
But
happen.
I did say it.
Yeah, things happen. That's, you know.
It wasn't for me to say.
But I think the council is very supportive of the county highway. I'm very supportive on a lot of things. We're going to change some things. We're going to get things squared away. I know Dave's working hot and heavy on some things with you. And it's going to be great. You're not going to be bottlenecked.
Understood.
So we got to buy the truck. We got to pay for the truck. Let's figure out what the funds we got in 2024. We got enough to pay for it, not, and we're going to have to pay out 2025 to get the truck. We can't get the truck back, or we can't get our stuff back.
Well, they've already sold one, so.
You know, but those trucks got delivered to this guy, but he didn't bring us our truck.
True.
And that was discussed also. You called me and asked me about that guy taking the trucks, because this other one was getting the bed and stuff put on it.
Yeah, all this came about, gentlemen.
We got hurt. No,
I'm sorry.
No,
I'll
you're
explain
no,
this
you're no.
truck. All this came about, gentlemen. we got a non-CDL truck through our vendor. And it is financed through Huntington Bank where we do that. And you want to talk about a machine that performs well, this one does. Very impressed. And somebody can drive it with what the old license would be, used to be a chauffeur's, now it's called for hire. So I went to the Board of Commissioners and said, this worked out, I'd like to buy another truck like this. Now, when I made that request, I was looking for a truck. I did ask for 25. Let's make that perfectly clear, I did. What occurred with this truck, at least I was told from the man at Vomac, somebody had ordered this truck, another municipality, and they didn't take it. So it was available right then.
At a lot less price.
We waited for about $23,000 cheaper, I think, than the previous one. But we waited for the other truck for over a year. And I took it before the commissioners. So that's no secret. I took it before the commissioners and I asked.
Right.
And Sheila confirmed, I asked out of the 2025 budget when I talked to them. I was absolutely intending on doing what we had did before through Huntington Bank, but, anyway, that's the process
That's where we're at.
of the trucks. Now,
Well,
Gary, I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna disagree with you on part of it. I did talk to the commissioners about them wanting the trucks as a down payment. Or they would take our trucks as a down payment. And I was perfectly fine with that. I don't know how it come about for them to come pick up the trucks, but I never told them to
I'm
come
not
pick
really
those
sure
trucks
either.
up.
I'm not really sure either.
So that was not me.
somebody called them to come and get the trucks. You rest assured of that, because I know them.
I think Donnie did ask if he could come and pick the trucks up so he could show them to somebody.
Donnie requested from us to find out if he could take one truck that he thought he had sold to, what was that town? Chimera.
I'm there. But they come and got all three.
They got all three.
Yeah, and I do remember the one truck, that was the little Ford or whatever it was we bought from them previously.
That was not it. I mean, how it come about, I don't know. You'd have to talk to the former Board of Commissioners, but that direction did not come from me. I was directed that.
But you don't know who directed
I do not.
Donnie and the company to come over and get three trucks? and take them
I
out?
did talk to Donnie about coming and looking at that one truck, but not all three.
I don't mind being on the hot seat, gentlemen, when I got it coming, but I don't think I got her coming on this one.
No. Yeah, I agree.
As long as we're in agreement that you wanted that truck and you were gonna pay it in your rotation, I think that was a discussion, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
So, well,
It will be February the 7th at the earliest that we could have them a check, unless you
Well,
do it on
they,
Sunday.
no, they were told
they're
that
okay
that
outside.
would not happen.
Okay.
February 6th, I'll have a check.
Now, he did tell me, he told Chad relayed to me that our truck would be sitting at the shop tomorrow as long as we had it insured. It is insured. Because we went ahead and set that information in, as long as you guys say, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, please. I want the truck on the lot.
We need that truck.
Should be there tomorrow morning.
I want the truck on the lot.
It'll be there tomorrow.
Thank you, that's good. Then we have a little wiggle room right there. As far as the check will be cut February.
He was told that was the way it was.
And if I have to drive it over there and hand it to him myself, or,
I told him it'd have to go through a regular claim cycle.
Thank you.
That it went to the commissioners on the 6th.
we'll
Whenever
get
they
paid
got
it
the
then
check
like
cut,
everybody
it'd be
else.
mailed to them.
Good, appreciate it. All right, enough about that. Got anything else, partner?
No,
Yeah, you don't,
I wanna go.
that's it. Go ahead. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. You guys need anything? Okay, appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna move on here. I didn't get no supper. I haven't had no ice cream. We need to pass this to the council. They gotta sign this and approve this. In the meantime, we have an agreement here with our county attorney. And I wanna get this took care of. Mr. Attorney, would you like to just in small circle, tell us, I've read it, I understand it to my best ability. I'm not an attorney, but I want to sign this agreement so we can continue to work in like a bar meal. Sorry, sir, I just had to throw that under.
At the last commissioner meeting, it was approved by this body to hire me as the county attorney. This is just the agreement that memorializes that. That's all it is.
Quick question here. You got involves wages, hourly claims, and fiscal issues. Does that include contracts, ordinances, resolutions, all those matters?
Yes. It
Okay.
includes what is typically handled by the county attorney.
Okay.
Is there anything that says if like we fire you, then you get 2 years of pay or anything like that?
I wish. No, there's,
You're on an hourly basis. It's not a salary.
correct. I'm on an hourly basis.
There's a difference.
I make a motion, we sign the agreement between the Owen County Commissioners and Attorney Tony Overholt.
I second.
All in favor? It just has to be signed by me.
The president of the board.
That's- Still?
Too late for a recount.
Yes, there is, sir.
Thank you.
There you go, sir. Anybody, Paula, you have that?
So for this signature, I mean, we didn't take a vote on this, so shouldn't, we never made a motion to do this, so we shouldn't.
Yeah, that's for you guys, yes.
Okay.
We have to have a separate meeting. Right.
What is it the investment thing?
Yes.
We
It's
have
order.
to close out of this and then
Yes.
just
Yeah.
go into the actual.
Oh, okay, well, I'd rather we do that. before
Right.
we sign it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Anybody else for the county commissioners, any comments? Uh-oh,
I know, I'm sorry.
that's the newspaper later. Yes.
So, well, obviously you know who I am because Sam just said so. But in July, the Owen News filed a public records request for commissioners' emails, pertaining to the jail project.
Mhm.
And I just want to voice that hopefully with the change in county attorney, that will either finally be responded to, or, you know, whether that's a denial or.
I know Dana has all those on a thumb drive, so you'll have to get with him, Tony.
You are the first person to raise that with me.
Okay, yeah, no, I was at the meeting earlier, that's not the, have a prior commitment, but,
Okay.
I just wanted to voice that because, that's something that I've been waiting on for 6 months.
Could you forward the request?
Yep,
It was
absolutely,
originally-
and, an article about it was in the January paper, that one was.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
And then, point two, if I, heard correctly, the previous Board of Commissioners met in the Highway Department and made a decision on a vehicle.
No, it was discussed. It was voted on in a meeting here.
Okay,
We were there on administrative to talk about the highway
Even
road plan.
discussing that and coming to some sort of consensus is a violation of the open door law.
No, I just said we discussed it. We didn't come to a consensus. We discussed it there and it was voted on in
You
a
can
meeting.
receive information, you cannot kind of come to an agreement. That violates the spirit of the law.
You can,
And-
yes, go ahead.
And so it is, you can receive administrative information, and I just want that to be clear.
And that's what we
because,
did.
Thank you. But it has kind of been a pattern where it has seemed as if this law has been skirted around in the past. There's been admissions in meetings where a commissioner says, so-and-so and I discussed it. If it is discussed outside of a meeting, that is a violation of the open door law.
Sam, you want to touch on that? You've got an opinion on that?
So,
Yeah, I do have an opinion on it too, and we're not necessarily gonna agree, because I went to the commissioners' conference, and it'd be no different, like if Greg has an issue out on the road or something like that, and he needs the commissioners to come out and look at that. And he's not gonna make 3 different appointments.
no, absolutely not.
The commissioners can meet anytime they want to. We can't make decisions on anything.
That's correct.
Now, because I'm getting my advice from the guy I got for 6 months. And there is a thin line between discussing stuff and looking your other commissioner in the eye and saying, do you agree with that? And he says, yes, I agree with that. That is a decision. But when you meet together to discuss something and just discuss in general the information, that does not violate the open door policy. But if you ask one question, Commissioner Rist, do you think that's a good idea? And he says yes, then you're making decisions. It's a thin line between love and hate. And we need to make sure when the commissioners meet, because we're going to be meeting on some different issues, that we don't say, well, we get our consensus, we get our ideas, we take our notes, we come back to the commissioners meeting, present our findings, then make a decision. But there has been times when, you agree with that? Yes, I do. Nah, red flag. So it's a thin line between, and please, I know you will. If you have any concerns or questions about that, do not hesitate to ask this Board of Commissioners, because we don't want to violate. Yes, Brett, how are you?
One more question. This pertains to the future. If I make a request of the board for activities in a certain building, it's a county building, how do I need to go about doing that?
Just,
Application.
huh?
There's an application for that.
Application to
Rent the building.
rent a building
No,
or?
no, not even really that. Don't really want to get into a lot.
I know,
So you're just wanting to make a public records request regarding an issue?
No, I want to make a request that something does not happen at a certain building.
you can present your request to the Board of Commissioners.
Do I need to fill out paperwork beforehand, or is
You
that-
just have to get on the agenda.
Gotcha.
And you can touch base with me or touch base with Sheila and say you want on agenda and speak your piece.
Still work?
Yes.
Thank you.
February 6th.
Thank you, buddy. You're all right. Thank you. If there's no other questions for the commissioners, I appreciate everybody being, yes, Greg, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I've got one more, Commissioners.
You
There
just
was a-
let her fly.
There was, I apologize.
No, you're all
There
right.
was an email chain that started, there was a request made through Sheila's office, then you guys got involved in regard to somebody wanting to know how to adopt a road. Long story short, gentlemen, I called the lady back. I explained to her what the process was. What I need from you is either to allow her to be put on an agenda to make that request, flat tell me no, or you tell me to go assess this subdivision and I will tell you what it takes to bring it up to standards for it to be adopted.
Okay, and I know what you're talking about, and the public has the right to be heard. It's a private subdivision,
Correct.
it's a turd. As far as the roads are concerned, I understand, I've been on it many times. They have a right to be heard, and because that's what we said, we're just gonna listen to what the public's got to say. And she can present her case to us, like anybody from the public should be able to have the opportunity to, and we can make our decision on that. But I know the one that you're talking about, and, you know, I think you'd probably agree that it would take absolutely a triaxle load of money to even do anything, to even get started.
It absolutely would, but I can't even go make an assessment unless you tell me to, so.
So, well, you know, if you have time to make an assessment, you can. I think she can present her findings to us first.
That would be perfect.
Just let her present her findings, you know, she can get on the agenda, we'll listen to them, I understand. But I've been out there myself. The county does not have the money this year, next year, or the next 3 to 5 years put together to take care of this project. I can tell you straight up front. And it is a private road.
I need to give her an answer.
Have her get her own agenda, have her come and speak her piece, because she is part of the public, she has the right to talk.
I won't ask any more.
Preferably the second meeting in February.
Yeah, not February 6th, Steve. We're closed out. Anybody else got any questions for the county commissioners? If not, we're gonna close out this meeting so the council can take over. I call the Owen County Commissioners meeting adjourned. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well, I'm going to open the council.
I'm sorry.
So the Board of Finance is the commissioner.
That's what I thought.
They're signing the investment resolution.
Yes. Yes. So all we, Sheila,
Opening the Board of Finance meeting.
Are they down there?
we can't do it until the Board of Finance.
Okay, what I need to do, we gotta open the meeting back up?
Mm-hmm.
It's a separate meeting. There, Board of Finance.
This will
Nope.
be fast.
We'll open up the Board of Finance meeting, and please proceed, because I don't know exactly what you're talking about.
I'll explain it to you. It's fine. Give it to me. I'm gonna put copies. I'm so sorry.
I believe I already have that. How'd you get one? I didn't get one.
Okay. No.
I don't have. You know anything about this, sir?
I've already read through it, a little bit unstable.
I didn't have one. Probably did. I
This is
did.
what Shelley was going through.
This is what she'll, okay, all right.
Going through.
I see, understand. Go ahead, young lady.
Okay. So, we need to elect a president and a secretary. The president is usually a commissioner, the secretary is usually the treasurer,
Okay,
which would be Shelley.
I'll make a motion to elect Dave as president of the Board of Finance.
I'll second.
good, because I was going to. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What else we need to do?
What about the secretary?
That's you, or Shelley.
Shelley?
Shelley.
So we have to appoint that person too?
Yeah.
I appoint
I'm-
you.
okay.
You go ahead, Dave. No, go ahead.
A motion to appoint Shelley as the secretary.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So the next page in your packet is the Board of Finance meetings from January 17th of '24.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have any questions?
How are we doing on our current investment?
On the current? So, our total investment interest that we've earned in 2024 was $1,008,000, $1,008,204.07. That includes all the interest that was earned on our bank accounts plus our investment.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do does this need to be signed tonight? It does, gotta be, okay,
Be done by January 31st.
okay, all right. So,
Thank you.
I would like to say that I have some questions, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know exactly everything that I'm looking at. But, Sheila, have you looked at those over as well?
Just as far as the minutes and
Okay,
the information that's presented, again, this was stuff from the January meeting last year, which was part of it.
okay,
Shelley does do investments. I know she did something earlier this morning. She made another investment this morning, and these are just things that she does throughout the year. Just as she's monitoring funds and accounts, she just has to have the resolution from the council to invest the funds.
okay.
Yeah, it looks like our total investment is $2 million.
Yes.
And there was one point when Diane was treasurer, we didn't have enough money to have an investment.
Yes.
Okay, so,
And this has also all been just reviewed by State Board of Accounts as far as the funds and those things that pass through as well, so.
we're good, okay. Well, I make a motion that we, allow the president of the Board of Finance, just, I don't know what kind of document it's really called, I guess, it's the,
Okay, so,
Board of Finance document.
It takes all three commissioners.
Yeah, it does, all three. It's the investment policy for the Board of Finance.
You're the Board of Finance meeting, she's presenting the stuff that's in here to you as this is what she has done in the last year and what the investments were and what the returns and those things are. So it's basically just like a meeting, you're approving what was presented to you as long as this part of it, and then it will go to the council for.
Okay, I make a motion, we sign, the documentation that's been presented to us by, the investment policy of the Board of Finance.
And also, if you notice, these departments here receive that interest.
Right.
The breakdown, there's 4 different departments there.
We need a second.
Need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sign there.
she, I need a copy of all the signatures.
I got one more out.
You don't have to get tired.
Won't take you,
Going past my bedtime.
always wait past one. Won't take you,
So
hour and a half.
this was approved, this was approved, your motion and all of that, so you'll close this, and then the council will go in and approve
Now
the
you can
resolution.
adjourn and close and be done.
Okay, I'll adjourn this Board of Finance meeting. Is that what's called?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now I open the, the council meeting. That's all right. So we need a motion to sign the,
Yeah, and just to confirm, is the resolution number 2025-0001? Is that right? Okay.
do we need it read or do we just need a motion to sign? Sheila, do we need it read or do we just need a motion to sign?
Just a motion to sign.
All right.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we sign off on ordinance 2025-0001, which would be adopting an investment policy and authorizing Owen County's investment officer, which would be the treasurer, to make investments.
Motion's been made by Anton. Is there a second? Seconded by Joe. Any questions? All those in favor? Motion carried. That it? I now, do I have an?
Meeting adjourned.
Yeah. Is there a second?
All right, great. Thank you. Great communication. Good job.
And I also need the
There's two of them I have to sign. There's two sheets that I have to sign.